university.
Sorry,
He
no.
is, no, it's cool. He's a nutritionist. He's currently studying law. My aunt does massage therapy. She does aromatherapy. My mum is big on mental health, well-being, and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of like my background and why I got into kind of stuff. Currently, I'm working for Goldman Sachs International as a fitness and health well-being advisor. And yeah, I've been there probably about 3 years now, so it's good. It's interesting. Yeah. So Ivy asked me as well to talk about some of the probably like issues that I faced,
Yeah.
especially kind of dealing with race. For me, one of the things that I think is important to recognize um, for myself is that the racism is very covert. It's not overt. It's not in your face. That's a lot to do, and it says a lot about the culture of Britain. It's British culture and English. Like in the English kind of culture, we're not outwardly rude. We're
Mhm.
kind of like undertone kind of rude. Do you know what I mean? In contrast to like America or somewhere else, where they just straight out, point blank, tell you, call you a nigger, etc., etc., etc. So I guess it's dealing with that in particular. It's it's hard to kind of pinpoint a particular thing and say, oh, this happened to me, and etc., etc. But one of the things that I've been struggling to deal with is my manager. Um, uh, I wanted to go for a particular job position. Just so happens that my manager also wanted to go for this position. Anyway, long story short, he basically spoke to someone quite senior up um, to look at getting this position, and in in the opening of this position, he never informed me that this role was obviously going to become available. Firstly, secondly, he never told me that he was obviously interested to go for it. So I brought the conversation to him. Anyway, how that race comes into it is because I feel like that was extremely underhanded in what he done, firstly. But secondly, there's almost like this kind of air of people that, people were saying to me, oh, he's going to go for it. Oh, I think he'll be really good and blah, 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 blah. And it just made me feel like I'm basically the token black person in my team. Do you know what I mean? That's why anyone that's going for interviews in the place, if they're black, I just look at them like, boy, I'm sorry, bro, because as real as it is,
Yeah.
I'm literally the token black person. They ain't letting anyone else in. Facts. Despite Goldman Sachs being quite diverse. But yeah, that's some of the issues. Anyway, so it was this kind of like general consensus that people kind of speak in kind of putting him up above me,
So you're
despite me having more experience and more time
more
and
time.
more value. Me personally, I believe that obviously I have more value because I'd been there
Longer.
quite a little bit longer, and obviously I'm very front facing.
So I think you're touching on two things. So you're touching on tokenism, which is going to be a major thing that we're going to speak about today. And you're also touching on the fact that working to a level that you believe is, well, that is because you've been there for a longer time, and you're feeling sidestepped.
100%.
Yeah, and feeling like the work that you're putting in isn't, you're not getting any reward for what you're doing, and it's like you can feel that it's related to your race, but sometimes it's hard for you to kind of express that because it's not tangible. It's like you can't pinpoint a thing and say this is it, right?
Yeah. It's dangerous as well because, like, so Lynette obviously mentioned that it's good having allies,
Yes.
and that is one of the reasons why I put like interpersonal skills very, very high up on the skill list that you need in order to navigate predominantly white environments.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that kind of set me in a decent kind of position on why I feel like I survived is as soon as I went into the company, I clicked with my boss's person who he answers to,
Right.
because basically they vetted us for a process and they said, okay, cool, so give us an example of a training session and etc, etc, etc. Anyway, me and her really gelled and she really checked for me amongst a couple other people. those are the people that have kept me informed about what is going on, when the people that should have been telling me what's going on have kind of just
I'm not
left
gonna
me
call
out of it.
you.
Do you
Yeah.
see what I mean? And
Yeah.
but it is a scary kind of thing as well, especially when you feel alone, because you feel like approaching someone to say something immediately is going to put their back against the wall. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I feel, and I'm guessing that this is probably going to be true for some people, I'm not I'm not light skinned. I ain't got like curly hair. Not to shade anyone that is.
Yeah.
I'm not short. I'm literally big, 6'4", dark skin. Do you get me? Deep voice, like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? So when you approach someone, they can very, very easily feel threatened. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
by you giving them a look. Do you know what I mean? So certain times, it's like it's crazy waters to try and navigate, but
Yeah.
here we are.
You have to be aware of kind of who you are in the space that you're taking, and you understand that you being black also, there's kind of levels in the way in which we experience our blackness, right? And experience our
100,
skin because of the world that we live in. So it's more
100.
so it's not your perception of yourself is a perception other people have of you that you're very aware of.
Yeah.
And you also touched on like tokenism as well. And I think that's definitely, I think the two things can sometimes be interlinked, especially within the workplace. Somebody else who works in the workplace and who is doing quite well for herself is Nicole, who's our third speaker. And she's going to kind of open the floor for wider discussion. But yeah, hi Nicole.
Hi.
You can take the floor, you can come over, Farah. I know that you guys' stories kind of interlink somehow.
Yeah. So yeah, my name's Nicole. I'm an operations manager at Uber. So I've been there for 4 years now. I started in 2015. Well, yeah, going on 5 actually, but yeah. And I kind of like joined when the company had first launched in London. So yeah, it was a very interesting time. To be honest, I walked in there like basically going in to be there for only like 2 weeks, because I decided to go in as a contractor first. And then after 2 weeks, especially like in a startup company, everything moves really, really quickly. Before I knew it, I've been there for like 4.5 years. So it's really crazy, but I definitely worked my way up from the bottom to where I am now. Not only am I an operations manager, but I'm also the lead for an edge group called Black at Uber, which is basically obviously an edge group that we have, which is the global edge group, but I lead it for London, which obviously just basically supports our Black colleagues within our company to obviously ensure that we're making sure that everyone can take the next relevant steps to making sure that we have as many Black people in leadership positions as possible. So yeah, just a little bit about my journey. I think when I first joined, you always kind of like, I saw a lot of Black people at Uber. However, as you can understand, like they were all at the bottom. And you know, at that point, you really don't want to be, those are the times where you really didn't want to be like in a crowd where it's just like, oh, all Black people are sticking together. So we kind of really steered away from it. And I think as I was progressing through my journey at Uber, I really tried to hide away from like my Blackness to a certain extent, because, you know, I didn't want to come across as being too Black and stuff like that. So even like during my time of me doing that, I remember going into a meeting and it was with one of like the top managers in France who had come in for like a round table, and I literally allowed everybody, there was 15 of us in there, I was the only Black female in there, and I allowed everyone to speak. And it got to a point where they said one thing where it was just like, you know, speaking about workload. And at that time, the level that I was at, it was like whatever workload anyone else had, like it was being thrown at me. So I said to them, you know, I completely understand that, you know, you guys are all getting like more of a bigger workload. However, like, how do you think my team feels when X, Y, and Z happens? And literally 5 minutes after that meeting had ended, my manager pulled me aside and said, oh, they told me that you was really angry in that meeting. And I was just like, I literally didn't even say anything. Like I said nothing. And I said it with no anger in me or anything. And that really like sparked a fire within me to kind of say, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah,
So if I am going to be like basically classed as this black angry person, then let me do it and let me make sure that I push my anger to make sure that I get as far as I can within Uber. And that's what I did. But not only that, and I think this is something again that Pharaoh touched on, and so did Lynette, but I feel like I personally became the token black girl as well, right? So diversity and inclusion became a really big thing. And so, hey, Nicole, the only black female within UKI that was a manager at the time, let's use her and let's start to push her. But not only that, I had a white manager at the time, and I can't lie, he is like my favorite person in the whole world. Like, he has been the best manager to me. But I think again, it kind of pushes to what Farah said about having white allies as well. Like, he not allowed me, but he really pushed me to kind of say, you're black, you can't hide away from it. Like, be who you want to be and use that to your strength, right? And then I started to engage in, like, you know, speaking to a lot of other black leaders in the headquarters in San Francisco, who also said, if they're going to class you as being that black token female, then use it to your advantage and just push yourself. So, you know, I really struggled to kind of like find the balance, but I think, you know, you have to use your blackness to make sure that you're showing your unique side as well. And I think that that's again what really helped me and really helped me to kind of like pave the way for some of my team to also like push themselves up. So yeah, like, it's been a stressful time, like, especially like knowing that, you know, you have to be very careful about being classed as angry, but also it's really taught me to use my white allies to my advantage. And now I'm in a position where I'm the only black operations manager within Europe that has a team of 150 people. And I'm working for the Uber jump side as well. So that's e-mobility, which is like obviously something completely different. So yeah.
Well done, Nicole.
Thanks.
It's a lot of hard work. I think that opens the floor to like a lot of different questions. I just want to kind of like pinpoint the trends. So we know that the trends are the importance of allies. So we can just definitely discuss that. We can also definitely look at tokenism within the workplace and what that means. And we can also look at like how that kind of affects your mentality when you're operating within the workplace. So yeah, I think it's really important to also have the floor for everybody else to speak. So yeah, don't all rush at once. I don't.
Yeah, so
mute.
We got a lot of people inside, and I guess, you know, some people may be shy or a bit reserved in talking, right? So I guess again, there's no kind of real order or listing. We want to hear people's actual experience and see how we can then combine that together and see how, you know, we want to build mutual connections between the two. So again, so now thank you guys for the speakers who have kind of come out and shared their kind of voices, so we can open up for questions or for people who want to share and discuss similar instances and guess how they overcame it, or, you know, what kind of solutions they found. So, you know, with Nicole, she touched on, you know, having the white allies or having that sort of ally. Again, I'll leave mine till very last, my reservations, because I'm very much anti. I'm definitely the Malcolm X. So yeah. But yeah, no, of course, the floor's open to anybody.
Yeah, share your stories, and also I think it's important for us to look at like solutions as well. So how have you, if you've got a story, if you've got anything to say, and also like the other side, I'm taking notes because it's helpful for me. So yeah.
Could I say something?
Of course.
Yeah, so I'm Joshua and I'm 14 years of age, and I'm one of the voices for young people.
Hi, Joshua.
Hi, Joshua.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Josh, 14.
Hi, Josh.
Yeah, within Lewisham Council, yeah, and I'm a young advisor and I chair the meetings. So
amazing.
Yeah, so what my job is to hold the mayor of Lewisham to account and to make sure what is he doing for young people. And what I've seen over the course of this coronavirus lockdown is that the support is not there and there's no infrastructure in the council for young people. And what I've seen is I've been speaking to loads of different people, and I saw this meeting and I said, I want to join this so I can hear your experiences. And what I've seen is you're having the experience in the workplaces. I am having the experiences in the education system. And what I'm seeing is in the education system, as a young Black boy, when you're bright, when you can speak up for yourself, and when you're seeing injustices happening to you in the schools, they will throw you out. And what I see is not pushing it away from the workplaces, but in the schools, it starts from there. So when you're pushed down in the schools, and when you see, as with Black people, we're quite emotional. And then when they don't know how to handle our emotions, so they say we're angry, we're depressed, and they put all these things on us, and then it escalates until we get to the workplace. And what I've seen is with me, I've got allies, and it's good to talk to people. But then what I've seen is there was this one lady, I was walking in Catford and I saw her and I met with her previously. And then she said, what's going on in Lucian Council? What's going on? And I told her, and she's a great ally to me. We speak every day, we talk every day, and stuff are opening, stuff are seeing, like I'm seeing stuff that I've never knew what was going on. So, you know, it's great to have those allies, and hearing Pharaoh and hearing Nicole, hearing all of the speakers talking, and about that's the experience that I have, but in the education system. And, you know, what it is that for young people, I'm not going to talk too long, but with young people, is that they're like, for example, in Southwark, they have a centre for young people where they can go. It's friendly, they've got iPads, you know, this stuff, but I don't see Lucian having it. And, you know, what I see is that young people need advocates. Young people need people like you in this forum to talk up for them, because no one's talking up. We are keeping quiet. And what it is people love to talk about slavery and all this kind of stuff, but what is now is we are in mental slavery. We need to take ourselves out of bondage.
Well
Seeing this is what needs to be happening. It's not happening, and it's good for forums like this to talk. And I remember that I met Ivan. He was one of the first projects I worked with when I started. And I'm telling you, to hear how far he has come, I feel very proud, because I went to his event, I saw what was going on, I saw how we could be connecting young people, I saw all of this, and I'm thinking, we have this, but we need to use it, and we need to make sure we give Ivan, you know, we need to be sending up and down the place, saying, Ivan, go there, go there, go there, so young people can get the best opportunities. Because I'm telling you, in Lucian, we have young people that will go very far, but we need to push them, and we need to tell them, don't listen to what these education people are saying. They cannot. They cannot.
It sounds like I'm listening to David Lammy, mate. So I love it.
Listen, I'm loving the future. Looks amazing with people like you. I'm telling you. Actually, Josh, one thing that I'd like to say to you, I know you touched on advocacy and the importance of being able to kind of share your experiences with somebody who understands you and can advocate for you in that space. Because although we're saying that like you can't listen to education people, we still have to go to school, you know, there's still things that you have to do. So I think it's all about kind of navigating those spaces, which is basically what we're saying, right? Navigating those spaces more efficiently with people who can kind of raise their voice when we feel like we can't. And it's so funny that you say that, because you're saying things that are a trend through, I think, the experience of being Black. Like you see it in Black mortality, you see it in the schools, you see it in hospitals where Black women are how many more times likely to die at birth, well, when giving birth, than our white counterparts. And it's all about having the inability, or not having the advocacy, or not having people there, or not feeling able to use your agency and raise your voice. And I think it's really interesting that you're saying that you're seeing that in schools also. So when you said that you met with that lady in Catford, how do you think that allies have worked for you? Can you give me an example?
Yeah. So how this ally worked for me now is that I met her, and then she said to me, she wanted me to talk to her about the Prus in Lucian, and I was telling her about the Prus. And, you know, I'm not ashamed to say that I attended Pru right now. Is that what happened is because I'm emotional. And when I was telling the teachers, this stuff is happening to me, this stuff is happening to me, they weren't listening. So then this woman, she helped me. She said, this is what's going on. And what she opened my eyes to say, this is not a race issue anymore. It's a class issue. And this is what we need to be tackling. We cannot, I love to have discussions with white people and different colors of race, because even though we were slaved and we were enslaved, I could talk about that for years and years, but it's a class issue now. We're seeing that people like people of class, like middle class people, lower class people, they're likely to die because, you know, the higher class people, they're going to private wards in the NHS. This is what we're seeing. So this woman, as I'm smiling, I'm telling you, this woman's helped me. She's spoken to me. She's helped me with this schooling. She's opened my eyes. She's opened my eyes to see that you can't be getting angry at the mayor. You can't be getting angry at this kind of people, because what I've seen is the mayor has no power. The mayor has no power at all. We have to be talking to those head of legals, those head of access. We need to be talking to those people we can't be talking to the mayor, because the mayor, when we talk to him, he goes back to his boss, on top of boss, on top of boss. And when they go back, no, he can't do anything. So with this advocacy, when I saw this woman in Catford, it's like, every time I saw her, every time I was at Catford, like something was attracting. That there was some kind of energy attracting us. And, you know, she's showed me, you know, now I'm her apprentice, I'm seeing loads of things, I'm learning. And with adults, we're always learning, and it's time to get to the top of the ladder. And, you know, when I heard that Nicole was operations, I did lots of operations work with you first, but now I'm taking a different approach. I'm going to be leaving the leader side of it and leaving now. I'm going to be governing, because I think it's better to govern, because then you can lead people in the right directions. Because as a leader, you're there making noise. But when you're a governor, you can govern people in a way that will help young people. So that's what I've been seeing in the community. Yeah, with that. So young people need, an
advocacy.
They need
Anybody else
advocacy.
speak to that, to Josh's points?
Well, firstly, I don't necessarily want to speak on it, but you're very eloquent and you've got a good mind on you. Well done, and I thank you for actually presenting and speaking up, because as you can see, everyone is here just listening to you speak. Do you know what I mean? And I appreciate you even sharing that. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, thank you.
Really good. Ivy, if I may.
Yes, of course.
Thank you, Josh, for sharing that with us. Just on the topic of tokenism, I think we need to be really careful as a Black people with tokenism. So yes, we can't deny it. We are often hired for political reasons, for sometimes superficial reasons as well. But we must not internalize that. And we must not carry that label around. And when we speak to each other, refer to each other as tokens. So we have to understand that we are very skilled and we are very able. And I think we should run with it. We should actually take that when they hire us as tokens, let's turn it on its head.
Yeah.
We should leverage that position. So
how do we do that? Yeah, sorry, not to cut you off, but
so I'll give you a personal example. I currently work in the charity sector, Prince's Trust. It has its own issues of race. But before joining the Prince's Trust, I worked for a global energy company called ENGIE. And I was one of very few Black people in the organization. And I kid you not, one day I just looked around the floor. It was a high-rise in Canary Wharf, suited and booted. I looked around and I just said to myself, there are no Black managers in this organization. I literally got up, walked up, went over to the CSR team, and I said, is there anyone I can speak to about something? And that was really cool, because I'm quite an affable guy in the workplace. That's like what Pharaoh said, it's important to make allies. So I was comfortable enough to say to CSR, I'm a bit worried by the lack of Black people in the organisation. And they were quite taken back by it and actually quite pleased to hear me come forward and say it, because it was the elephant in the room. But disappointingly, they said to me, at my relatively low level in the organisation, can I put together some sort of business case or document outlining why we need to recruit more diversity? So I tried to leverage my position, but again, I was overcome with hurdles. They said they had a board of people discussing representation in the organisation, but the board itself was not very representative. So I tried, and I met more hurdles. But my message to you all is, where you can speak up, but do so diplomatically. I think sometimes we are scared to speak on things in organisations. We feel like we might lose our jobs, or we might be, cast aside. Don't feel a way about saying to your manager or the seniors that you notice there's not a lot of people who look like you in your organisation. You can even ask, what's the company's policy?
Yeah.
So thank you for hearing me out, guys.
Oh, it was really good point, Stefan. I just want to touch on that because that's my field. So I work in university recruitment, and basically I work a multitude of things, but I'm a diversity and inclusion specialist. I work as a university recruiter in early years. So I work with organizations, a lot of tech companies, broadly speaking, and I also work with universities looking at the Black attainment gap. So anywhere where there's a lack of representation of Black, Asian, minority ethnics, mainly Black at the moment, my role is to come into those organizations and ensure that that's my job. Like, why? Like, question it, be really hard and firm. I deliver a lot of unconscious bias training, which I, at the moment, is thinking it falls on deaf ears. So it's really frustrating because it's coming to what you're saying. You shouldn't have to, in the 21st century, plead for a case of why an organization should be representative. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it shouldn't even be a job within itself. And sometimes it can be highly frustrating because there was one person, I'll give one story of a guy who was really open, and I like honesty, but sometimes it hits you. I was working with the Bank of England, and we were talking about why in the Bank of England, wherever there's Black people, we're at the bottom, right? So I was thinking, like, what's going on? So I was commissioned to work with them to ensure that they increase the levels of Black people in the organisation. Now, when I had a meeting and I sat down with the guy, he said to me, "Good looks like me." And I was like, what? He was like, because I said to him, we're in this conversation to discuss the lack of Black, Asian, minority ethnics within this organisation. This is the Bank of England. I had my case presentation. I'm not going to go through all of that, but that was kind of the whole point of the conversation, the meeting. And he said, "Well, good looks like me." And because nobody's been that honest with me, I was like, whoa. Like, I was kind of taken aback because I've never had that kind of transparency, especially at that level. And I often question myself, like, if I was a Black man or if I was somebody else, would he have been that honest with me? But anyway, that's besides the point. He said, "Good looks like me." I asked him to expand. He said that he knows that through his experience, somebody that is good and efficient at their job looks like him. And I thought that was really interesting because I said to him, "Well, good looks like me also. Otherwise, how would we be having this meeting?" And that's the thing, what you're saying, challenge them. Like, I know it's really difficult, but it's really difficult, especially for me. In those moments, I have like, it's like fight or flight. So either I'm gonna just bite my tongue and regret it later, go to bed angry, go on the train crying because I didn't say what I need to say, or I'm actually gonna push back. And I think that that's something that we need to kind of take onus of. Like, we always have agency to say that thing. And as soon as I said it, he said, that's a good point. That's a very good point. And I said, yeah, it is a good point. So what are we going to do about it? And after that, I worked for Windsor Fellowship. We got the bid. And since then, we've been increasing the levels of Black people in the organisation. You would see that as a win, but it's not. Because at the end of the day, the people on the head have that kind of way of thinking. And if the people that run an organisation have that way of thinking, it's kind of like, how are the people that are in that organisation navigating it? It's quite worrying. So yeah, that's my point. Does anyone else have any kind of similar kind of experiences?
All right, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello?
Hello?
I can hear you. Is that Donovan?
Yeah, that's correct.
Hi, Donovan.
How are you doing? You okay?
Good, thank you. I can't see you though. Can you put your camera on?
It's not coming on for some reason.
All right, go on. You can speak.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, you see what you just touched on about representing Black people in the businesses. Everyone's Black in this chat, yeah?
No, well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's a
I
very
just
good
wanted
point
to say, yeah, you see what that guy was talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry guys, sorry, I'm multitasking. So basically, I was saying that it's already hard enough growing up Black in the UK as it is. Do you see what I'm saying? So to not have people that are representing us, like, you see, like, I don't want to mention race too much, but English people in this country, when it comes to corporate business and etc., they look out for their people. Do you see what I'm saying? They bring their people with them. We need to be building each other's up in these companies, if you get what I'm saying. Like, even when it comes to, what did you say you do, Ivy? You represent thingy? When you do representation?
Jonathan, you should know this. You've known me all my life, but...
Do forgive me. Go on. I'm fasting, so I'm not thinking straight.
Okay. University recruitment, diversity, Donovan, you know, diversity inclusion. So getting more Black people into organisations. Let's just say that.
Yes. All right then. So you see the guy that was talking before, yeah, the younger guy.
Yeah.
Young Josh. Yeah.
Young Josh.
He was yeah. Did you say he's only 15? What he said is very true about the fact that, like, basically, even in the Lewisham Borough, in other boroughs, they're reaching out to the youth and etc. But the Lewisham Borough, they're not really doing enough for their youth, if you see what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Donovan, express yourself.
Sorry, can you hear me? Sorry, the mute, it keeps going on mute. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
That's better. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why I say that because obviously in the Lewisham Borough, yeah, think about it. Even outside of this corona thing in general, nowadays, I don't know about you lot and your statistics on the news and how you lot like research and stuff, but when it comes to Lewisham Borough, have you noticed since the late 2000s, there's no youth clubs or nothing. So there's less youth clubs, but there's more jails. How does that work?
you're saying
Like
that
they're building more jails but less youth clubs.
So you're saying that the support for young people, you're saying that the support for young people to kind of not turn to...
There is no support.
Okay.
Yeah, Donovan, I like what
not...
you said there. Because the reason why there's no support is because Lewisham Council have not taken the time and have not taken the time to put in the infrastructure for young people, because they're closing down the youth clubs. That's what I'm saying. They're not putting in the infrastructure. So what, as we as Black people, not even Black people, we as the community need to unite together.
Exactly.
We are broken. We need to unite.
And do you know what it is as well? Exactly. Sorry to cut you there. What you said there is powerful. You see, as Black people, we need to be building one another up. So like you see in some businesses, you see a white fella, he's bringing in all these white mates. But with us, it's segregated. Like we've been to, and you know, sorry to like drop a subject, but going back to slavery, where there's a little tension between Africa and Caribbean, for example.
Yeah.
Have you noticed, other than barbershops and Jamaican food restaurants, please tell me where they've been successful? Not to be rude or anything.
Can I interject?
Yes, of course. Hello.
Yes, of course you can, madam.
Greetings.
Hello. I got my drink just because I knew you was going to be here.
It's Tracy here, or Sister Just Sunray.
Hello, Sister Just Sunray.
I'm a community development worker. You all know me. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to respond to the to your comment. I don't know your name, who was just speaking.
Donovan.
About the provisions in Lewisham. Yeah. And just briefly, I totally agree with what you're saying. But what I would add to what you've said is that there is infrastructure in there for young people services.
Yes.
But what we have to be mindful of, Lewisham's agenda may not necessarily be our agenda. Mm-hmm. Lewisham was very deliberate when they took away youth services and provisions in Lewisham.
Yes, no doubt.
At the time when they did that, I was a mental health community development worker, at the time working for South London and Maudsley. Yep. And my brief was specifically to work with young Black boys, young Black men within mental health institution or recognising early signs of mental disorder. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I delivered training to Connections, which was youth provision services in Lewisham. I delivered training to teachers and getting young people at that stage where they're making decisions about whether they're going to college, university, and what have you. Within schools, you had a service where young people could go and get career advice. Lewisham took that away. And that service was specifically located within youth services for young people that were not in education, not in any form of, not doing anything other than signing on and receiving whatever benefits they could get. Lewisham has been very deliberate about taking away services from young people. But I think we ought to be mindful. They're not doing us any favours. Yep. These inequalities.
Can I stop there? Why? Can I stop you?
That's why.
Why do you say they were very deliberate in taking them away?
Yes. Because
and also,
take away.
Sorry, guys. Let's not cut each other up, please. Let's
Donovan, I'm going to greet you quickly. Yeah.
Just so we have the conversation flowing, please.
Okay. Sorry about that. The reason why I say they were very deliberate about their services. If you take away youth provision, close the majority of the youth services, change the law that makes it illegal for more than 2 people to stand on the street talking, take away advice services, close down Connection without telling the young people that you've closed it down, then where do they go to socialise? Where do they go to just be young people interacting and engaging with each other? Nowhere. So what
they go to the chicken shops.
Exactly. I mean, just check it. They wanted to send a message about knife crime and they put it on a black box in the chicken shop. Now, if that's not racism at its highest level, I don't know what is.
Yes.
But the reason why, just to answer the public governor's response, the reason why I know that this is deliberate, because when our young people have nothing to do, no hope. Remember, you've just had a second-rate educational system that hasn't told you anything about your culture, only about white culture.
Yes.
You've got no provision for them. Then are you surprised there's an increase in knife crime? Is it a surprise there's an increase in criminal behavior? It stands to reason. If they cut the youth services, alongside that, they increase the police services. So for me, it's not rocket science. They're doing this in Southwark, Lambeth, you know, Croydon at the present moment has the highest number of black people in that area. That wasn't organically created. That's where they're sending them. Yeah, that's where they're dispersing our community. So for me, it's part of a massive plan. And it's not surprise that, Ivy, you do work within your context of your job.
Yeah.
You're talking to very official, high-powered individual, and you can see not only is there a glass ceiling, it's a concrete ceiling.
Yeah, it's
There's
hard to
no
push it
black
through.
people up there. So what we have to recognize, there is a deliberate agenda, and I think we shouldn't be naive about it. I think going back to conversations about, it's about what strategies do we put in place to overcome those inequalities, and what can we do on a personal level to make an impactful difference.
So to answer, sorry, just to kind of jump in on that one. Sorry to Kai, and I'm gonna just give a little spiel in regards to that, right? I think your points are very important from the public governor to yourself, TJ, and everybody else. These are really important points, purely because we were young once. You know, we were Josh's age at one point, and obviously fast growing up wherever, it doesn't matter whether it's Lewisham or Peckham, whatever. One thing about what's beautiful about black people and our culture is we can always relate. We can always relate to something. All of us can always relate. That's how a lot of us become friends. That's how we become cliques. We can all relate, whether that was our mum whooping us after a certain amount of time, or the stuff we eat, or however way we live, or what we enjoy, we can always relate and come together. So those shared experiences make us stronger as one, right? And so when you look at situations where, you know, kind of going through, like, you know, having those kind of inequalities. I remember I think I was in my school year, was 2003, right, when I first started. We still had books from 1998. That's the books we were using. Do you know what I mean? So you could tell there was a huge disparity in terms of our learning. And we know that, we recognize that. And as we've progressed, you know, for many of us, again, many people with myself, I'm very proud to have amongst, you know, as kind of friends, peers, you know, everybody here. I pretty much know a lot of people here, and everybody here is doing fantastically well, and I'm sure they are. But, you know, it's been through struggle. It's been through struggle. It's been through so much heartache. We've had our highs and lows. I'm pretty sure most of us have had some kind of mental episode or some trauma having to, you know, experience growing up black in this country, right? And I feel like how it starts and how we can, a solution I have in place is for the younger ones coming up. I mean, I do a lot of work with younger people, as Josh can tell you. You know, I'm very passionate about making sure they are equipped and they have this first-hand knowledge. One thing we can do as older people is kind of contribute towards our own experiences.
Yeah.
They're very important. That's one thing we can start off by doing. So that's us as older people, us as 28, 29s, the 30s, the plus, coming back to these kind of younger people, whether that be through a forum, a blog, an article, doesn't matter what, or video, giving back and telling them this is what my experience was growing up. This is, or not, it doesn't have to be a long story. It doesn't have to be world peace or, you know, war and peace. It just has to be like, you know, this is what I learned. This is what to be careful for. This is what you should watch out for. This is how you navigate it. Because one thing, again, I know my friend Josh, I want Josh to definitely speak up on this at some point, is one thing I've learned as a black male in high spaces. And this is something that Josh, I speak to, I, you know, get counsel from Josh a lot, is how to maneuver in a room full of snakes. That's something we've all, I think everyone here can attest to, that we've been through, having to learn how to maneuver through snakes. And I think that's a valuable trait these young black kids need to learn in order to stop being exploited, or to catch what's happening early and then process it quickly. So I think that's something we can all do within our age, whoever's, like, whatever age you are, and after having many years of experience, going back and then helping our younger people know that this is the game. You know, unfortunately, as much as I hate to admit, even now, I got pulled up on some BS at work last week, but I'm having to still learn that this is a game. You have to play the game, and unfortunately, until we have our own, it's a game. So how about we teach them a game, let them learn the game, drip feed them the game, and even put them through experiences of the game. And at least then it's a black face, so they're learning and it's more relatable. But that's just one of my opinions of that.
Thanks, Adam. Let me quickly interject, right? Quickly. Just because we're touching on a lot of really important subjects, but I want to make sure that we're kind of chat and
Yeah.
properly. Okay, so we firstly talked about tokenism, and we spoke about using that to our advantage. And
That was my
Stefan gave
advocacy
us,
point. Sorry, that was
yeah,
the feed on the
Stefan
advocacy.
gave us a really important way of which to do it. So he did say flip it on our heads, and we're all kind of for that in terms of use tokenism as a power tool. So we discussed that. We also discussed youth and basically advocacy with youth, and we also talked about some of the, I know we talked about youth provision, sorry, and we also spoke about workplace racism, which Stefan's obviously talked about. Now, I think tokenism has been spoken about. Can we speak about what we feel that we can do? Somebody's not on mute. What we feel that we can do to create difference. And I want to start with somebody that probably hasn't spoken.
Yeah, hi Ivy, it's Shaya.
Hello.
I'm here with you. Hey guys, just a brief introduction. So I work for BP. I've worked for BP for about 3 years. I'm part of the department that's looking to the future of energy. A lot of my work is related to technology, I don't even know, artificial intelligence, blockchain, a lot of the things that's going to shape the world and essentially change the way that we shop, the way that we purchase energy. So I can attest to a lot of the struggles that I've had in navigating in a workplace environment, and it goes as back as secondary school. So I went to Eltham Hill, very normal secondary school, not the greatest, and my mum was adamant that I wasn't going to go to a college, and I didn't understand why. And my mum is an accountant, and she's worked in predominantly white rooms for her entire working career. So she was very, and I used to, it's funny that I think about it now, because I think as I got older, I wanted to be more black, because I felt that where my mum had enforced, you've got to talk like them and be like them to get in the room. I'm grateful for that, but it meant that I had to do a lot of soul searching to actually find my blackness again, because I had become so much like them to be part of the room. So I went to their schools, the sixth one that I went to, I think at the time it was like top 20 in the UK. They hadn't even heard of my area. They didn't even know where Deptford was. Like, they were like, oh, where is that? It was in Orpington, and they had absolutely no idea. And it was crazy. Like, they had never met a black person. And I use that example because that is what happens when you're in a working environment. Yep. So to your point, Ivy, how do we move forward? For me, I've noticed that, in fact, the HBR, Harvard Business Review, they think they did a report on this, basically saying that the workplace is the only environment where a lot of people will meet people from other communities. When we grow up, we hang around with people that look like us, right? We know the struggles of our people. That's the same for white people. That's the same for Cypriots. That's the same for Greeks. That's the same for lots of different community groups. They know the people in their community. But when you get into a working environment, suddenly your desk is next to somebody who you've never encountered their community before. You've never seen their food before. So some of the things that we think are negative questions, and some of them are, we need to understand the intent, but we need to use our positions as the token or as the only one to make the room, which I am. In many of the rooms I'm in, I'm the only black person / only black woman. We have to use these opportunities to educate them. They've never met you before. They don't know anything about you. So I think we have to strike a balance of talking like them, navigating ourselves like them so that we're relatable, back to Ivan's point, but also standing your ground and knowing who you are so that there's a teachable moment too. So you've got to kind of talk like them and be like them in a way, just so they can recognize you, that you're valuable and you're important, but actually also I'm very different from you and I actually have an advantage as well. So there's a dark side to it. You have to really find that balance of knowing who you are and allowing them to understand your blackness, but also, again, I think someone mentioned earlier that they don't understand that you're not being aggressive, you're just quite emotional. I think it was Joshua saying that you're
yeah, I did, yeah.
And I think the more they get to know that, the more they understand that. But I think we need to, I'm sorry to labor the point. I think we've just got to do we've got to really try to teach the people around us, because this is the first time that they've probably met someone like you. So we need to really stand at the forefront and be an ambassador for our people. And it's a lot to carry, the burden of all the black women when you're in a room but that is.
I have to highly disagree with you there.
Okay, you're welcome.
Hold on, yeah.
The reason I say that, not disrespecting everything you've said, but that is not your burden. You see? Okay, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Paul. I'm the Public Governor for Lewisham, Southwark and Lambeth.
Greetings, Paula.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Paula.
I sit on the Council of Governors of Guy's, St Thomas's, King's College Hospital and Royal Brompton. and I'm an advisor to Sir Hugh Taylor, who's the chairman of all those trusts. I also look after Guy's budget of £1.6 billion per year. And growing up, I can relate to everybody's argument about, you know, the racist attitude. And then one day I said to myself, well, this is not my burden. So when how can I say it? When my self-realization, I can say, I said, okay, let me use my aggressive black self to my advantage and to their advantage. So what they did with me, they headhunted me in my career as an accountant. When I started out, I came in to find fraudsters in their companies, break down their departments, sack people, do all kinds of things that they didn't have the guts and the belly to do. They used me for that. So this is how I rised up through the ranks of not hiding my blackness, not hiding my aggression, being even more aggressive, and especially coming into Lewisham. Because Lewisham is a very serious argument, Lewisham, you see? So I've had to now, well, Josh is actually my apprentice and I mentor him, you see? So I am teaching him also about Lewisham. Lewisham is a very racist borough. And like, I forget the lady's name, she mentioned that, you know, they've destroyed the children's, everything for the children, they've destroyed everything for the adults. It's not that I'm going to say it's not a race war, but it's more become a class war. I find there's a lot of middle-class white people come to me within Lewisham with their problems. Oh, can you help us do this, do that? There is absolutely nothing in Lewisham. They've killed everything dead. Southwark and Lambeth have a lot of luxuries that Lewisham do not have.
That's true.
And I'm trying to implement some things so at least something can get rolled out through Lewisham.
So can I say, do you think that this attitude works in certain environments? I mentioned this because I honestly believe the corporate environment, the white collar environment, where a lot of the decisions are being made and kept away from us, if we're not in the board, if we're not in board positions, and we have no controlling power, right? And I feel like some sectors are so much more welcoming to that kind of reaction, that kind of just that kind of demeanor about you, and some it's completely isolating to them. You are seen as somebody who is going to cause us an issue, and therefore somebody that looks at you again we may not employ because you gave us an issue last time. So when I say burden, I don't mean that in a negative way. I hold that with pride when I walk through my company doors, because it is about Joshua's classmates. If I do this right with my full name, then they might see someone else with a name that they don't understand, or they see them in the interview and she has got afro hair and think the last one that came, she actually.
Okay, stop. So let me just throw this out for argument's sake. The way I handle them, I'll say, okay, there's too many interracial relationships for a white person to be afraid. Is it?
Particularly in London.
There's too much. They will say that you're moving your hands. Oh, I'm afraid. You're rolling your eyes. Oh, I'm afraid. There's too many interracial relationships for them to be still afraid.
Can I say, Ivory, can I interject?
You can interject.
Thank you. Thank you to both your comments. One of the things that I would say, white people are afraid of black people.
Yep.
And they will continue to be afraid of black people because 400 years of chattel enslavement has given them a guilt complex. But they're not that guilty enough to step aside and let us share power with them.
I agree.
Their guilt is to keep reminding us of our subordinate position. That's why people do not know anything about Africa beyond chattel enslavement.
Yeah.
Because if they focus on the fantasticness of black people, bearing in mind that the first black person they found was a woman in Africa. That's where the seed of civilization comes from. But they're not going to tell us that. So As far as I'm concerned, they will live in fear of us. What they fear of us is that whatever we do it well.
Yes.
We're
DJ,
running
can I interject?
educational beliefs.
Powerful,
We just have
powerful.
to look to Africa and the Caribbean and the United Snakes of America to see our people achieving greatness. And that's what they don't want to tell us. So
Yeah,
hear
can I
this, my
interject?
sister.
Wait, one second.
Very
Could I comment?
Okay,
Okay.
yes. All right, hold on. Yeah, of course, comment.
Okay.
So,
I agree with you. I'm not saying that I don't agree with you, but like I will go back to say, it's not our burden to make them feel comfortable.
I think
No.
I think the point is that it can
Wait, let's not cut each other up.
Yeah, I think
let's not cut each other up, please.
the point isn't that, I don't think the point is whether it is or whether it isn't. I think it's how it feels, because it's exactly what Shaz was saying, what her point was. There's some areas in the workplace, especially corporate workplaces, where that is how you feel, regardless of whether you want to take it on or not. That is how you feel. And I think that sometimes when you are a token and you are the token black person, you put the burden on yourself to be the best representation of your people, because you're 100%. The only person there.
But
so
you have to stop looking at yourself as a token, as you identified. You have to stop looking at yourself like that.
No, go for it. Can you hear me?
Is that me? Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't think anyone's even disagreeing with each other. I think everyone's doing the same thing in different ways. The thing is with us, we are starved for a knowledge of self. We don't know ourselves, and for that reason, when we go into another environment, we are subject to the person who does know us, because we don't know ourselves. So when you're talking about in certain environments, they will say we're angry and aggressive. A lot of us, I would say 90% of us, particularly those who don't have a knowledge of self, are operating from a place of severe anxiety. And that's deep ingrained in our DNA. And without studying ourselves and the trauma we've been through and going through those steps to rectify that, we will, excuse me, I'm faster as well. We will operate from a place of anxiety. Do you know what I mean? But I agree that it's not our burden to carry, but unfortunately it's burden upon us irrespective.
Yeah.
And going back to what Sis was saying before, in like saying that they're scared of us, I absolutely agree. The fear is if we come into a position, they fear that if we come into a position of power, that we will do to them that they done unto us, which is not necessarily our nature, and it's not necessarily true.
No, inherently it's not in us to be a certain way or to act like, have this kind of imperialistic view. What have we got to be imperial about? We don't have that imperialism. Americans do. I find a lot with certain Americans do.
Can I just quickly say something?
Yeah.
One of the things that I recognize, I lived in Devon for 18 years. And what I found was, instead of me, I know that they might perceive me a certain way. I understand that because I understand their fear of me. But for me, how I've worked with these individuals and continue to work with these individuals, I know when they're playing the white card. I know when I go and sit down in front of my line manager and she wants to micromanage me, and chat to me a certain way. I know when she starts telling me, "Oh, Tracy, I find you intimidating. Oh, you're using a lot of hand gestures."
Yeah.
Immediately, when I hear her use certain language, I switch it up on them and I say, "I am mindful you're playing the white card." Immediately, she asks me, "What do you mean?" Then I break down their white institutionalized attitude
And that's
for
what
them.
you gotta do.
And then when I'm finished talking, I will say to this meeting, "Do you have any more to say to me?" Then this meeting is closed. I take back my power.
That's right.
Because they need to know that I know what they are
They're not
doing.
afraid of you. It's a strategy. We are taught to do that.
And to me, what we have to do is play the white man game. And the white man game is to overstand the white man game and then use his game against him. So that when he opens...
This is why I'm the governor.
Yeah, I don't think that the fear is contemporary. The fear is quite abstract because it comes from a deep-rooted insecurity. I don't think it's fearful in a sense that they'll see us and be scared in that respect, because most of us won't ever go and do the same thing to a white man that we would do to our own brother. So they know that. Do you know what I mean? They know that they have
That's
that.
a good
behind
point.
them.
Can I jump in here?
Yes, please. Also, just to let you know, we're going to kind of move away. We're going to move away from this part of the conversation.
Yeah.
We can touch on various points. So yeah, next point. Yeah, speak please, Letitia.
Okay. I come from a charitable background, but I also work in like music, arts. I worked for a charity for about 10 years and it was the best experience of my life. And I think I've had different experiences to what you guys have had, because when I'm walking into those rooms and those white spaces, I feel safe and I feel like I'm in control. It's actually when I'm in the spaces with my other Black people where I feel pressured or challenged or not safe. And I think that's maybe it's something about Birmingham. I don't know if it's Birmingham or it's something that I want to discuss, because in the last conversation, Ivy kind of touched on Black men not defending the Black sisters, especially with the stuff that's going on online and Twitter, and with the young people and influencers and stuff like that. I think it's a wider conversation. It's not just online. It's like Black men and also Black sisters supporting each other, and I don't see enough of that. And I think that's a bigger issue than what the white people are doing or what the white people think. It's like, what are we doing and how are we supporting each other? Like, we can talk about what they're doing all day long, but that's not going to change them.
Sorry. And you have to remember, we are living in their country and we will never be above them, and you will never be equal to them in their own country.
Okay, now can we speak to some Black men, please? So we have a few in here, and I would like for you guys to voice your opinion on the point that was made by Letitia, that in regards to like representation, not representation, kind of like defending, because we all know what's kind of going on, right? So how do you feel, and do you feel that, Ivan, you can start with this?
Yeah. Can I jump in? Can I jump in with
please?
this one? So, again, being in my space again, I've got obviously there's a lot of Black males in here, people I know, some I don't, and I guess as Black males, I think a lot of us here can definitely relate to some of the things I may say, right? So whether that be out in life, whether that be out in jobs, whether that be in relations, that, you know, a lot of us, there's two hats we got to carry, right? Ourselves and then our Black hat. And that Black hat is trying to not be as intimidating as we can as possible, you know, trying to act a certain way or be a certain way. You know, I'm a big dude, I'm a big Black dude, so of course I've always had that stereotype of, oh, he's this and that, or, you know, perception's everything, unfortunately. And that's led to a lot of negative kind of experiences that I've had being a certain type of way or look or feel. And for those who know me know that I'm far away from any kind of stereotype that most people would have of a Black male. And, you know, I would say my experience being a Black male as a whole growing up, tiring. So tired. And, you know, I do feel for a lot of us, it's definitely not put on the same scale, given that kind of consideration or care. Not that we ask for it, or not that we even try to like get that TLC or affection, but I don't know, for myself, kind of working in kind of white spaces, trying to always have to compete, being a male and having, you know, kind of all that testosterone combined with all of that has made kind of my upbringing, I'm very privileged and I'm a happy person, but it's tiring nonetheless. And I don't know if any other Black males kind of have that kind of feeling or thought when they go out and have to represent themselves in life. So it'll be interesting to hear.
For Black men, so I want the Black men in here to talk, and only them, please.
Hi, Ivy. What exactly is the question about Black men?
What do you feel like your experience has been?
Oh, so yeah,
how do you feel about when it comes to Black women saying, okay, we don't feel, which what Letitia was saying, we don't often feel protected by our men. What's your stance on that? So I think it's a twofold question. Yeah, you better get ready to answer some questions.
Can I say something?
Please do. Yeah, you go first.
No, Stefan, why don't you start? I mean, what's
Stefan,
up?
you started. You might as
well. But I wanted to touch on something before we move on to the next thing.
Okay, what was it?
I think Letitia made an amazing point. It's changing the focus of where you're kind of looking. It's looking at like being, you know, problem focused or solution focused, and those, you know, they can bring about different approaches. I think there isn't the bigger issue isn't trying to navigate in this system. I think the bigger issue is the lack of confidence that we feel amongst ourselves within our own community, and the stereotypes that we are fed from outside, but also the stereotypes that we perpetuate ourselves through our own sort of like colloquial conversations. One of the things that Nicole mentioned, and this is something that I've experienced in terms of like working in my field, where I would consider myself the token Black person. You get into this kind of mindset where, you know, now you're here, your foot's in the door, so now you're going to do what you can to try, obviously, like maintain your position and be the best that you can be. Now, like I'll be walking around like Goldman Sachs in the gym and etc., and I'd see other Black people, and it's kind of like, can we talk? Actually, no. Wait, should we talk? Oh, no. Wait, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then sometimes like they will come down to the gym, and like, you know, there's loads of them, and sometimes I wouldn't even realize it, but I would be sitting. I'd be standing. I've got like 3 or 4, 5 Black young men all talking around me, and again, that kind of characteristic, we come out. We can be a little bit boisterous. We can end up being a little bit loud and etc. But just like Nicole mentioned, there's that kind of thing of, oh shit, maybe we're being a bit too ourselves. Do you know what I mean? And people are looking, and we would have complaints of other people being like, oh, why are they chilling together? Or, do you know what I mean? And then probably just that energy of wanting to kind of disperse us. Exactly. Yeah. The point that I wanted to make though is I feel like it's important for us to have things like this that make us feel, or are examples of us trying to support other Black people and each other. Because what can tend to happen is that in those spaces, like Nicole mentioned, you can go there and think, oh, do you know what? I'm not really going to engage in that sort of conversation. But on the flip side of it, you know, there's a certain group of Black people out there that I'd be like, oh, see, you're a snake. Oh, see, you're this. Oh, see, you don't want to chat and chill with us. You don't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. Do you see what I mean?
It's good to understand why you do what you do, and why sometimes you don't feel as confident to operate in your blackness.
In your, exactly, do you know what I mean? And people can...
So it's touched on what you said before, like perception of self. So sometimes you're saying for you, it's not so much you, it's more so how other people perceive you that you're conscious of, right? So when you're operating in white,
well, Farah, I'll back your point and say on that.
You can bring it back to Stefan, because I don't want us to like overlook what he really wanted to say. Like, I know he really wants to say something.
I gave him some time to collect his thoughts.
Okay, all right.
Stefan's got to say.
I saw a quote that really touched me about the plight Black men experience, and had a list of statements. It said, the teachers hate us, we get excluded. The cops arrest us, we get stopped and searched. We don't get hired. We're overrepresented in jail. Black women comparatively earn more than Black men. So going to your question about, you know, the lack of protection Black men offer Black women, Black men are relatively in a weaker position, not just compared to Black women, but society as a whole. And we feel quite generally disenfranchised. And that starts from a young age through to school. And you've got to ask yourself, if a man doesn't feel sure of himself and can protect himself, how can you protect a woman?
That is a very good
and I think we can't overlook those socio-economic factors which affect Black men.
Stefan, can I ask a question? Sorry to cut you off. Can I ask a question in relation to exactly what you just said, right? I remember watching a video from, I forgot his name, I think it was Brother Polite or something, and he said something that I've still thought about all these years. You know, when it comes to like Black men and Black women relations and Black men feeling that kind of feeling of inadequacy, right? He made a point that we'll look at what our Black women go through, right? They have a white boss, a white man that pays them their white money. They buy a house from a white person. You know, they kind of get supported in a way by being paid by a white person. So how the hell can they look at us with respect? I don't know if, and I don't know, it's something that he said that really hit me like that, in that sense of, okay, yeah, you know what? Obviously, I know that's a much bigger scale, but that whole, even that thought of providing that we don't do or necessarily have, does that play a part in the way you're thinking as well?
Yes, I guess the expectations of Black women may be different because they're used to associating support maybe from white men, being paid by white men, being hired by white men, and they turn to Black men and they're like, why are you not doing this for me, sort of thing. So yeah, that's just my comments on it. It's a bigger thing in America, especially in the 70s in America when they deindustrialized certain areas. Black men couldn't work, they had to turn to drug dealing, and then you ended up with single mum families. So yeah, there you go. I spoke.
Thank you. No, so for that was really good. And I think it opened like a different view of things as well. Especially in terms of like not feeling that you can do for yourself before you do for somebody else. So I think that that's an important point, and it's something that I don't think I necessarily thought about. Do you have any other black men? I'm not going to out no one.
Quick one, but I think that's why they import, and one of the things that is a struggle for black men is that that's why they constantly push this narrative of there's an overrepresentation of black men being drug dealers, being musicians, and these sorts of things, and glorifying this particular narrative. Do you see what I mean? And it makes you feel kind of insignificant if you don't fit within that character. Do you see what I mean? Because you're not doing the drug
that
dealing.
money, if you're not driving that car, you're not having that watch, if you don't have that girl that looks that way.
Exactly, and 9 times out of 10, it's associated with criminal activity, and that plays a part in whether you feel like you're able to obviously provide. Do you know what I mean? As a black man, and that's why they keep on pushing that narrative, because as long as we feel that we're not able to provide, or we feel like we're kind of falling short of the glory or the standard, and the standard is being a criminal, drug dealing, and having loads of money that way, then you know what I mean? It's like they push that narrative for a reason. I think that has a big part.
100%. Can I make a second controversial point?
Yes, you can make a point.
No, I'll let the lady go first. I've got a second quite controversial point, but I'll let that lady go.
Yeah, so we'll go what lady says, and we'll ask if any other guys have any points to this, and then we'll go on to Stefan's point. So yeah, as you said, Letitia?
Sorry, it was Danielle.
Oh, Danielle. Hi, Danielle.
Hi. I wanted to say that the education system kind of plays a big role in that as well, with the institutional racism that we don't normally see. Because when like young black people might have encounters with the teachers that are like racial, they wouldn't really know who to report it to, so then they end up not really reporting it as well. And with like having police officers in school to make us feel safe, I understand that sometimes, but then sometimes there's also a direct link between the education system and jail as well. Because when the mostly the young black boys are caught doing illegal stuff or whatnot, they're just either kicked out of schools, sent to Peru's, or taken to jails as well. They're not actually there to help them like find out what the root is and help them solve it. And Paula is also my mentor, and I was also talking to her about the how the prison system is similar to the education system, because the prison system is not to actually reform people. The prison system in the UK is just to punish people, and is just a business. That's how the school system is as well. Because when people behave badly, you don't just, what the school does is put them in detentions or kick them out of schools, which does not actually resolve that, because there's always a problem, there's always something behind why they're acting that way. So instead of actually looking for the problem and giving them like something to deal with their mental health problems that they might have, they just punish them basically without actually helping them reform, which is one of the biggest which is one of the biggest problems. And there's also the labeling in the schools. Like I wrote my GCSEs last year. My year group, I think that like they gave up on us literally. I went to Deptford Green, like they put us on early study leave. Like most of the boys, some of them, like they came into their exams halfway through, because they were like one of my teachers, she's black as well, she's always getting onto them to help them, to tell, like trying to advise them, and they were like, Miss, I know I've already failed, it's okay. Like it's gotten to that point that they don't feel like they're good enough, and always the school doesn't, like they don't do extra stuff. And sometimes because the parents are not educated as much, or they might not have enough time because they're working, trying to provide for their children, they can't always watch what they're doing as well and provide the support they need. So I think us as a community as well, that's an infrastructure we should put in place, because this is where it starts from. This is where these kind of things manifest, and we as young people, young black people, we take the labels and we actually internalize them and actually accept it. One of my friends that went to Deptford Green, he goes to Coles, and another friend that was there, she told me that one of the teachers, like there's only a few black students there because it's a private school. He wanted to become a medical doctor, but she said no, you'd be better as a physiotherapist, like working with sports or whatever, just because he likes football. And then she said to almost all of the black students, they were pushing them to arts, music, and sports, because that's where always in media, that's where you're always seeing black people. And also in the schools, that's what they do. They push the students there when you're choosing your choices as well. But then sometimes we don't always see it. So I think one thing that I think is really important that I learned about this year and last year is getting young people mentors and bringing out role models that actually look at like us, so we can see that there's people like us in certain positions as well, so they can actually guide us. And it's a thing that if you don't try to solve it from a young age, it's going to manifest, and it's going to be actually harder to get to the roots of it. And one thing I learned from Paula as well was that even though sometimes there's people like us in high positions that look like they're doing stuff, they're not always doing stuff. So it's not, they're not always trying to make a change. They look like they're doing it, but they're not. So actually holding them accountable, not the white people, them accountable, because they have been put in position to represent us. So making sure that they're actually doing what they're supposed to do to bring change for us.
I think that was like multiple points.
Another one of my young ones.
Multiple points. I think that was excellent, and I think it's exactly what we're doing this for. And I think you spoke to mentors, which is one of the main things that you said that I think is so important. Like, how are we supposed to look outside of ourselves when we don't have people giving back to our young ones? Like, what are we doing? Like, there's so many people in this chat right now. Of course, there's some people that are giving back, but there's some people that may not be. And it's like, we have to ensure that we're empowering our young people in order for them to not be saying, okay, cool. Like, when a teacher's telling you something, you could come to me as a mentor and I'll be like, don't listen to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's important to have those voices. It's important to have advocates in every area of your life. Mentorship is extremely important. And unless we make it amongst ourselves to give back to younger people, we shouldn't say nothing, because it's the same people us. We love to say crab in a barrel mentality. We love to say things like black kids are this and black kids are that. What are you doing? How are you helping them? How are you empowering them? What are you doing before you open your mouth and say something about young kids? So what you're saying touches my heart. I do a lot of work with young kids, and it's really, it's very, very, it's something that's dear to me, because I see how the education system fails us every single time, single time. And now that we're in positions that we can help, we need to help. So that's my point. I just want to move back onto kind of opening the floor to the black men that can even touch on that. Because I think, Danielle, that were brilliant points, and it really does link to what we're talking about.
Please go on mute if you're not talking, please.
Stefan, did you want to say something? Because you're not on mute, so I was thinking maybe you did.
No. I'm obviously, the floor's open to all black. I mean, I definitely want one or two. I want Josh to kind of add a point. I want Neef to add a point in particular, because these guys have got a lot of valuable stuff to.
Stefan, did you want to say something?
I don't want to put pressure.
Oh yeah. What was the question again?
it was like, as a black person, like as a black man, as a black boy, how do you feel like, well, I think we can change the question now. Like, what do you think what would you have liked to have been done? Because this can touch to like the young people in this group as well, to be done, and what do you think can be done to ensure that, you know, we reach success, and what can be done to kind of equip us to reach success?
Okay, so my background, I guess, is a lot different from everyone else, because I didn't grow up in London. I grew up in Liverpool. I went to a school that was the 8th best in a region of 8 schools. So it was literally the worst. Everyone who's expelled goes down till you reach my school. And the only reason I went to that school was because the postcode I live in, that's the closest school. So from when I came from Zimbabwe, my mom fought for me to go to a different school. And they just weren't having it. They were like, he probably won't speak English, all that kind of stuff. But I spoke perfect English, because Zimbabwe is an English-speaking country. So my experience, like during childhood, I was the only black person in the whole school, from staff to students. That was from year 7 to year 11. And then when I finished year 11, the school actually closed down. So it became an academy for a year, but they just couldn't get the people in. Every Ofsted report said the same thing. The lack of minorities in the area is damaging the school. The lack of diverse thoughts. And through all of that, so I look at some of the people I went to school with. Up north, people have had a completely different experience. So by year 11, there was about 10 boys left. because most of them out of 30 in my form group had been expelled. That was either for fighting or just people stopped coming in. And these were literally just white boys. So when I then went to college, etc., and then I went to uni in Hearts, it was sort of the first time I'm now surrounded by people who look like me. And that was such an amazing experience. So even now, when I come back to Liverpool, I still speak to some of the people I went to high school with, quite a lot of them. Liverpool, as up and coming as it is very deprived. So when I'm hearing about youth clubs that used to exist back when I grew up, we never had any of that. So even when I think of the police in Liverpool, the whole stop and search thing affected the white community here more than the black community. So there was never incidences where, as a black boy, I'm walking in the areas that I lived in and police would stop us. It was more often the white boys who were caught up in it. So like even now, I've moved back to Liverpool. Things have changed. Liverpool is becoming more diverse due to this Northern Pipeline. So I've now started to see, but even back then, role models who were black. So in terms of businesses, I'm now seeing so many black people get into property, and up north, things are cheaper. So quite a lot of people who I went to uni with in London are now looking for opportunities up north, because it's at a point now where in the South, there's racism and there's also classism. Up north, things are similar, but the classism is just so different. So I'd say everyone is oppressed up north. All the funding goes to London, and we have services that are struggling, and that affects everyone. So you'll find that there's that saying that northern people are so nice. It's because most people know we're in the same boat. And obviously there's some parts of the north that are just racist, ignorant minds, etc. But it's now becoming such a good place to, so as a tech professional, I work for Fujitsu, it's a global company. In my office, there's about 2 black guys, but then in cybersecurity, it's always small. But the experience that we've both had up north, like everyone always used to say, oh, but London is like where it's at. Everyone wants to be in London. And then I hear some stories and I'm thinking, nah. Because when I even saw the Twitter thing, like, you know, apparently people had a phase where they just cast black girls online.
Yeah, apparently.
That was never a thing up north.
Yeah.
Yes, there's some people who love other races, but it was never a thing of people going online to bash people based on the shade of their skin. That whole colorism thing, that was never something I experienced growing up.
Yeah.
So even though I was black, I had black friends from different schools, colorism wasn't a thing for us. It wasn't a thing of, oh, let's make jokes about who's got the darker skin.
Yeah.
And obviously growing up in Zimbabwe as well, my experience has always been, I grew up around black people. So it's interesting to hear like some of the thoughts that everyone has been covering today. It's amazing to see like the young people who are now so aware of the environments that they live in. And it's amazing to also know that there's people like this who are going to change the world.
Yeah.
Because even I think the black experience up north is very different. And it's often never put in the conversation about some of the stuff that we've gone through. But it's also important to remember that there is places outside of London that people can move to and build communities. Manchester is so up and coming. The black community is so strong. They support each other. And it's amazing to see so many businesses coming out of Manchester that aren't, I think someone said hairdressers or barbers. I don't know if people saw recently, Raheem Sterling's wife is now a property developer. She's built like a new estate, kind of, like I think it's like 15 houses. But there's so many opportunities up north for so many people that this whole like everything is shifting to the north. The black community needs to shift with it as well.
Okay.
And support these kind of communities.
I think that's a really good point as well. I think it's something that we can like, obviously, like there's other places to go. We can widen our net. We can move around. We can navigate to where things could potentially be a bit easier, because we know, touching on, you know, what the government, people here that work, you know, do work in Lewisham are saying is that it's very hard. And as they were saying, it's very racist. So I think it's important to know that, you know, it's not one monolithic experience, which is something that can open other people's eyes as well. So thank you for that point. Do we have any other black men that want to talk?
Ivy, can I
Can I
say
say something?
Who was first? Who said something?
Ashley, you can go. Ashley, you can go.
Ashley.
Yeah, so yeah. So
Ashley, where's your video?
I'm gonna turn it on, you know. Yeah, let me turn it on now. Hold on. My lighting's a bit bad. Can you see me?
Okay, yeah.
I can't even see myself. So for me, I've been listening like along the way, and my background. So I'm an engineer, mechanical engineer, working in building service engineering. But then listening to what Black people have been saying, I think we have to be very careful with how we sort of put a negative on saying we speak like them, because I think speaking like them, we have to be careful what we associate with that, because educating yourself and being able to command sort of English and speak and articulate yourself, you shouldn't see that as you talking like them. You're actually equipping yourself with the skills to be able to navigate in the corporate world, and even you're equipping yourself with the skills to be able to create something if you so wish. You going and getting an education, you're giving yourself the credentials to allow you to command respect from your peers, to become a role model for the people who are coming up behind you. And so that's one thing I think we need to challenge in the way we think about it. In terms of Black men being able to defend Black women, I think it's hard for me to speak on that because when I look at my counterparts, I look at them and I say, yeah, I feel like we're in a position to do that already. I mean, I feel like a lot of us, we've now come up in this system. We've gained our credentials. We've got into places of respect. We're now sort of trying to empower people who are coming behind us, giving them advice on platforms like this. And so we're getting there. And then we also need to challenge like what we deem as aggressive, because I mean, you got one, if you say, yeah, Black men are aggressive, and that's the typical stereotype, someone may interpret aggressive as, okay, he's ready to fight you, or if someone makes a flippant remark, you're gonna react negatively with a strong aggressive response. But aggression could be how you negotiate your pay rise, knowing your worth and understanding at what point am I going to walk away because I know my worth, I know where I've been educated to, I know how well I can do this job, and even though I'm sitting in this interview, this is how much I'm worth, this is what I'm settling for. And that's aggression there. Aggression, in my experience, this is going away from the corporate world. Aggression, in my experience, has been like speaking to a judge, like a judge in the high court, and saying, listen, this is what I want, and having to sort of read the law and equip myself with the knowledge of the law to be able to put myself in the position to do that. I think we really have to, I think through education, through reading, through gathering knowledge, you have to kind of attribute your aggression and all of those qualities that perhaps have negative connotation. I think you have to use that and change the narrative in that respect. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I understand exactly what you mean. I'm going to make a quick point and then let Stefan make a point. I think it's important. Language is really important. That's like me. I never say that do you know what? I never say like I speak like them or I change my tone or whatever. But I think to what Chaz was saying to that point was that sometimes the way in which we joke with each other, because obviously this is my experience, the way in which black people have a way in which we kind of talk to each other, right? We all know what that sounds like. We're all like when we get excited, when we greet each other. And that is often in the workplace deemed as not okay. Whereas white people, on the other hand, can joke and laugh and swear in the workplace and it's deemed as okay. So sometimes I think that is what people are coming to in regards to ensuring that you are always like following a right type of code. And I think that's where sometimes people feel like they do have to kind of code switch. That's what I think it is. I think that's what they mean. It doesn't mean that you're not well spoken. I think it just means that sometimes black people are aware of their surroundings and they feel like they have to adapt in ways in which they believe that their white counterparts don't necessarily have to adapt. This is the feedback, some of the feedback that I've got.
Yeah, but then
it doesn't mean that white is well spoken and black isn't. I think it's just that we feel like we can't, to Farah's point, we can't always be our 100% self.
But then my sort of question to that is because the effing and blinding and that sort of colloquialism from like that goes on in my office all the time, but I actually sit there and say, I don't want to talk like this. Like,
no, I don't think it's that. I think it's the ability to know. Like, I think it's the knowing that they can get away with things, you can't get away with that. Don't ever think about it. And I think that's what, because some black people maybe would want to, not necessarily that they want to swear, but sometimes they slip, right? And you have to be very aware that you don't, because you know the repercussions of you slipping holds more weight. I just want to go to Stefan's point quickly.
Sorry, can I say something, please?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to say on the man's point, that I just wanted to add on something, is that certain attributes that we amongst ourselves, that when we, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
When we say things, we normally associate things that are black with being ratchet, being loud, being not being organized, like just being rowdy. And then with being white is like being organized, being eloquent, and then
and it's the same thing at times.
Good thing, yeah. But then the thing is that that shouldn't be the point for us. Like, we shouldn't be saying that we're speaking black, and then we shouldn't be saying that they're speaking white. There's a difference between speaking eloquently and speaking different. So I think that negative connotation of acting black should be taken. We should try to take that away from like the way we speak, because then we're accepting the stigma that is attached to us.
Yeah.
Can I quickly make a contribution?
Yeah.
I totally agree with the young lady that's just spoken and aspects of what Ashley has just said. And I totally agree with you. We have to learn to speak the white man's vernacular. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the professional corporate setting or you're on the street trying to get served in the queue, or whether you're in the bank. It's about knowing what needs to be said, when, and how.
Yep.
I personally feel that having flexibility in knowing who my audience is and what point I want to get across and how I need to get it across. Because there's certain attitudes I may adopt if I'm talking to the bank manager. There's certain things I will say if I'm talking to a work colleague. The wisdom comes in knowing what vernacular I need to use. I don't necessarily need to add to the young lady's point about not seeing black language or black attitudes and what have you. The same can be said for white people. You've got white people that act rowdy, speak in a certain way within the workplace. It makes no difference whether you're white, Asian, or black. If you don't have the appropriate vernacular for the setting in which you feel you want to belong to, you'll be excluded. You have to know, for every industry, there's a set of language and a certain code of behavior. And I think it's about recognizing that there's many code of behavior, many way of talking. You know, we can talk as posh and as articulate or as colloquial as any white person. What we have to understand is that no matter what environment you're in, you have to be able to be flexible.
Yeah, you have to adapt.
Change. That's it.
You have to adapt.
That's it.
I think that's the point that everyone was saying. I think that Chaz's point, it wasn't as though she was saying that it's actually saying that the repercussions are different sometimes if you don't. So I think that was to her point. But I agree. Stefan,
can I ask a question?
make your point and then move to Stefan. So Stefan first and then Stefan. Yeah.
I'm conscious that Josh, when Stephen was speaking, Josh wanted to go after Stephen. Josh, do you still want to have your say?
Yeah, but I don't mind how it goes.
Okay.
No, go. You go first because you've been waiting a little while.
Okay then. So what, especially to Danielle and Stephen and everyone that's spoken, and I love how TJ speaking, T and a J there. I don't know your name, but what it is that Tracy. With that is that, especially just touching back, because I was thinking, I'm taking down notes because when I go back now, I know what to do. Because when you guys were saying about language and all that kind of stuff, what it is people in school, every time if I read something, if the teacher asks me to read an extra, everyone's shocked because they hear me read. And then they love to label me with these names, saying I'm gay and all this kind of stuff because I speak so well. And then they say, no, I'm speaking the Queen's language. So I said, yes, because I said, if I need to walk into Buckingham Palace and tell Her Majesty, look here, this needs to be done, she would take me seriously. And with people in there, like if you don't call names, they will take you for a fool. So say if now I'm talking about health and I say, Dr. Majid said this, people are listening. Oh, you know, Dr. Majid, you know. But when you're speaking and they're always talking about black people are saying they will speak of emotion, they don't speak of facts and all that kind of stuff. When I'm talking now, I'm speaking of facts because it's facts that will get you through. And with schools as well, teachers, they will label you. Like I was in a school doing a work experience and then the teacher said, oh, what do you want to do when you're older? The black girl said that she wanted to do some law and something else. And the black boy said, the teacher said to the black boy, you will be a bus driver, and the black girl, you will be a hairdresser. So there's stereotypes. And with black people, we need to come out of these stereotypes because we are in stereotypes. And I'm saying this again, we are in mental bondage. We need to come out. Like, I'm telling you, I could have 1 pence to my name, but when I step out my house in my suit, I'm looking good and I'm coming to represent black people. And with that, with white people in this general, they don't even, maybe some of them don't even know what 2 pence looks like. But once daddy knows that person, they will go far. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And this is what I try to drum into people. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Once dad, in the white community, once daddy knows that CEO of that company, your child is in there. And with it is, in Lucian Council, I've got my desk, they're eating all their fancy stuff. I bring up my mango, wash it and bite it and don't care because it's me. And I'm not hiding my blackness, it's me. Because I have to try and fix Lucian for all of us because if I go to Lambeth and I fall on my face and I need to come back to Lucian, I need to make sure it's okay. So when I roll in, I'm okay. I'm not coming into poverty or into nothing. And it's also about, we have to, even though London education, England education, it carry more weight, don't think just because you got your education in England, you have to stay here. You can go to anywhere.
Yeah,
and go anywhere. This is what we need to drum into people. You can go anywhere. And this is what the public governor has been drumming into my head since I met her. You don't have to stay in the UK. You can go anywhere you need to go. And this is what I'm thinking. I said, I'm not going to be staying in London forever. Once I go and do everything I need to do, I'm running into number 10 to become the first black prime minister to fix up the place. Because this place needs to be fixed up. And I sound passionate because it's my passion. I've been working with the young people since I was about 11 or 12, and I'm passionate about young people. And young people need to live up because all we're doing is in the chicken shop, around the corner, on the block, there. And it's because it's what it's been given to us. They're shutting down the youth clubs. And I know they're getting the funding, but it's how we're using it. And then we need the knowledge. And this is what I like about these meetings. Once we can share the knowledge and, you know, what Lynette said about what the black brothers are saying and what these brothers are saying in the workplaces. Now I can see when they talk about women and all that kind of stuff, I said, it's happening. I've heard this person say it and it's happened to her. So it's also about trying to fix what's going on for the next generation. Because when I have my kids, I don't want to be having them into this mental bondage and about black people can't be doing this, black people can't be doing that. We need to be living up and we need to try and fix it. And just every little helps. We just try to unite. We need to stop, you know, arguing with each other, stop being ignorant, because that's what some black people are. We're ignorant. We're ignorant, and we need to stop with this ignorancy, and we need to, you know, unite. Once we unite, we should stop marching, because marching, they love to see us march. Once we unite, once we come, because this is a Spiela, you know, meeting, once we come like a Spiela family and we unite, and, you know, Lucian Council, they'll be shaken down. Because they love to call us hostile. If I just move my hand like this, oh, you're hostile, I can't work with you, I can't do this, I can't do that. I'm telling you, I said I'm here, and what I've been taught is I am not an apprentice to the public governor, I'm not a voice for the young people because I'm black and beautiful. It's because I'm ruthless and I'm moving through the place. That's it, Josh. I'm not doing this because I'm black and beautiful. It's because I'm moving through the place and I'm ruthless.
You're ruthless.
Don't stop.
Josh, don't stop.
I'm moving through because it needs to be.
Come on.
That's it, Josh.
That need to move.
You know what, Josh?
Love it.
Sorry, Ivy.
Wait,
right,
can I chime
in quickly, just to quickly add. Love that, of course, Josh. You know, that's the passion that Josh has. He's had that from when I first knew him, and again, we need that energy from young people to keep that going forward. But also, that being said, we've got 10 minutes left on this, so yeah,
No, we're okay. We're okay. We can keep going.
We can keep going.
Yeah, I think so.
Going.
I was worried
time
because
anyway.
I was worried.
Hi guys.
Hello. Oh, hi, Sanch.
Hi, Sanch.
Hold on, Sanchez. Hold on. I was
Schedule
worried
time is 10 minutes, or do you want to keep going?
No, we can.
Sorry,
keep
I'm late,
going.
guys. Sorry, I'm late. But I'm not gonna say too much. What's the topic at hand? And I might be able to give like maybe 1 or 2 words, and then we just go from there.
Wait, sorry, Sanch, hold on, Sanch. Sorry, hold on. The schedule time is 10 minutes. Sorry, do we still want to keep going?
Is everyone okay? Is everybody okay?
Like some celebrity.
Yeah.
Is everyone okay to keep going?
Yeah.
Yeah, keep
okay.
going. Keep
Cool.
Yeah.
Go on, Sanchez.
This is most interesting. Very educational. Excellent.
Very.
Thank
Good. All right,
guys, I want to say something.
Tracy, you're back to it, mummy.
All right, let's come. Hey, guys, let's get back to structure, please.
No,
Let's get back to going. Sorry to interrupt.
Sanchez, go on.
Keep it going.
Sorry, guys. You're right, Lewis. Lewis, you're on mute.
Sanchez,
keep going.
After Sanch, please.
Yes, you can, Lynette. Okay, so the question, Sanchez, just to quickly answer this question before we move, because Lynette's going to make a point straight after you.
Yeah.
Your experience as being a black man in the UK, what would you have liked for there to have been in place, and what do you believe should be in place for the youth moving forward? And then we're going to move on to the next part, which Lynette will continue with.
Like to be in place, and what? Sorry.
And what would you have liked to be in place when you was growing up?
Yeah.
And what would you believe we can do as a community to kind of help black people, black men specifically, black boys?
I don't know. Well, it's a funny one. Like in regards to like just parentship. Like personally, it's a case of growing up. Yeah, my mum and dad. I was kind of just told to get on with it. So you see, like for example, today we kind of know. We know how to get through it, and we're clued up in regards to what's going on today. But being clued up took a long time. Nobody taught me how to be clued up. I had to learn that myself. So you see, like in regards to parentship, I couldn't sit down with mum or dad, even though they're the best parents, hand on God, but nobody sat me down and clued me up in regards to being black. It was all media outlets, looking online, being clued up, reading, talking to friends, whatever it may be.
More people.
Just the parentship sitting me down and letting me know what really is going on out there. I didn't have a clue what was going on until I kind of opened my eyes to the media, and I see stuff happening on the news and people getting killed and black people this, black people that.
You didn't know that was
black. It's just too much. Do you know what I mean? But we literally had to learn that ourselves.
Yeah. So you would have liked more guidance and more mentorship, which is something that the young people were saying anyway.
Yeah. But you also have to kind of just be thankful of the people in which you kind of just socialize with, because your friends can literally be your backbone.
That's it.
When I tell you, be happy and grateful in regards to who you got around you, because your friends can literally be your backbones. Like when times is hard, you're going to call up your phone, and you're not going to necessarily call your parent, you're going to call your bedroom.
That's it.
Sometimes, even if you got a partner, you ain't going to call your partner, you're going to call your bedroom.
That's it. What else?
And bedroom, help me through what's going on. How many times I call Pharaoh, me and Pharaoh would chat down and chat for hours.
Yeah.
And we just reason and pattern up the chat. If I can't chat to Adine, I call up Ashley, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And also you need the female perspective, like the females are important.
Okay. And then what do you believe that you would, what do you think you would like moving forward that could kind of help you in terms of your own career potentially and your own kind of life as a black man? What do you think is good to like go to? I think you were discussing something about mental health, like Man's Talk or something that was really good and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, there's a guy that I know called Lewis, and he kind of put together a thing called the Man Talk, and it's only for males, and the males will sit down in a room and just discuss mental health. So personally, I can't speak on mental health because it's nothing that I feel as if I've gone through, but just hearing other people's stories and what other people have been through, it kind of enlightens you and kind of opens your ears in regards to like what black people are actually going through, especially in particular males, because we're the ones that don't necessarily speak.
Love that. Thank you.
Women will speak, and women are very emotional, but men, we're told to just kind of get on with it.
Okay. Thank you for your input. I think that was really helpful. Lynette, you were going next.
Oh, sorry. Let me just mute this. Sorry, guys, because I'm not.
Thanks, Sanchez. That was brilliant. All right, so I just want to make 3 points because a lot was covered, and I think a lot of good points were made. First of all, Ashley and Josh kind of said something about black men holding each other accountable. So with regards to kind of protecting black women. So I think in that regards, it's like sometimes you don't have to protect them from like others. Sometimes it's even from peers. So I think it's just having the kind of confidence to say to your homie, like, this isn't on, like, don't speak to her like that. Just so, again, back to what Letitia was saying, that Black women can feel more comfortable around their people. So you should, because as a young Black woman, you shouldn't have to feel any way about being around your own people. The other point I wanted to make was that Tracy made a really good point about talking the white people's vernacular. I think talking their language a lot of the times can be talking money, and that's a unifying language, because with me, I found that the kind of doors I've been able to open have been because I've kind of looked at their strategies, I've looked at their policies, I've seen where their kind of money-making sort of areas are, and then I approach them with that. So say, for example, like the work that I wanted to do with my uni, I said that I wanted to research the Black attainment gap. When I first said it, they were like, oh, are we even allowed to say Black? They did it, that's how ignorant they were. And then when I said I wanted to do it, they said that there's no resources at the moment. Then Student Finance said, if Black people don't start achieving as much as their peers, like achieving 2-1s and above as much as their peers, we're going to stop giving you student finance. Then all of a sudden they were like, oh, Lynette, that research you said you wanted to do, come and do it. Come and be the chair of this board, come and be the academic lead for equality and diversity. So it's like, as soon as you talk about their purse, they're all for it, and they find the resources and they find the time. Same thing with Lewisham Council. So I briefly mentioned Elimu. So Josh and Danielle spoke a lot about the things that our youth need, and it's important because that's the same stuff that we needed. So it's unfortunate that how many years later it's still the same needs. That's why, like, the public governor, you said your name, but I can't remember it, but I think what you're doing is amazing. Like, you can see it. They are the fruit of what you've been planting. So that's amazing. And that's what we're
mentorship. Do you know
what exactly? And that's what we're trying to do through Elimu. So I went to the council with that, and they were like, yeah, this is great. And like, I went to talk to this person and that person, and everything was delayed. Like, there's so much bureaucracy. But now, because of Corona, there's been a lot of reports. I sat on this roundtable for the Mayor of London, and they found that young people are going to be the most impacted, economically impacted by coronavirus. So now it's a concern for Lewisham Council. So now the youth offending team, the youth services team, they're all reaching out to me. They're like, we're all having a meeting on Wednesday, and it's like, everything's happening a lot faster now because it's a money thing. So I found that regardless, housing associations, the stuff.
In there, what did they say?
What did they say? I do with housing, even alone telling them you're going to save money.
Oh, it's a money thing. Did you say, sorry?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm saying that, like, sometimes speaking their language doesn't even mean having to change the way we speak. It's looking at where their pockets will be hurt and then approaching them with that. And it creates all the difference.
Oh, that's a really good point.
So
what did you just say about the Lewisham children? They're going to start putting something within Lewisham for the children? What was that? I missed it.
We're having a meeting. So Elimu, it's an entrepreneurship program. I can talk to you more about it outside of this, but the kind of program that I mentioned before, we're going to be doing things like mentorship for young people, funding them for their business ideas, and just teaching them about the more practical skills they need, things like networking and public speaking and nutrition and mental health and mindfulness. So that program, we've been talking to Lewisham Council about it for a couple of months, and everything was really slow. But now that this report has come from the Mayor of London about the economic impact from young people being affected by coronavirus and not being able to find work, so we're going to have a lot more NEETs as a result of coronavirus. Now they're like, let's have this meeting, let's get it sorted a lot sooner. They're pushing it a lot faster. So anytime there's money involved, I find that things tend to happen a lot faster, and they tend to be a lot more open.
Okay, so they're more willing to help when obviously there's a need, it hits them.
Yeah, Danielle, definitely. I'm gonna be talking to you and Josh.
And also,
just wanted to comment.
And also, public governor can be a lot of help on that.
Definitely.
I find what you said quite interesting, because I've had to tell the mayor and public health directors that if they don't use the millions and millions of pounds that they've been allocated by the NHS to tackle the mental health within the children, that I will tell them to take it away. So I've been having this little battle with them for the last couple of months. So it's quite interesting to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Can I quickly add something? One of the things that I am concerned about is that generally when there's a crisis or they deem that it's a priority, all of a sudden, like you're saying, Lynette, and it's lovely to see you, you'll see them scurrying around to do some proactive work. To me, it's a distraction, right? If we think about the coronavirus and think about European law, the government has not, there is an expectation because of the human rights, European law, they have to do something proactive once they realize that if a certain set of the community has been disproportionately impacted on during a pandemic. That's part of European law. So they ain't doing us any favors, believe you me. Now, all the generosity that we are seeing from the government right now, let me tell you this, we're going to be taxed for that. They ain't giving us nothing that we're not already paying for. I think the challenge for me, the challenge for me is, Lynette, all those people that were dragging their feet and their bottom, all of a sudden now have an impetus, a motivation to get busy. It's like pouring new wine into an old bottle. You're just gonna get the same long talking and bag of nonsense.
Bag of talk.
You get me? The only difference is they are motivated because people is looking, watching, and observing. And for me, I have to add to the young man or to the young man when he said it's no point about marching. I disagree, my brother. Let me tell you why I disagree. Every year I march for the reparation march, and it's not just about money.
So do I.
Right? It's not just about money. Every week I'm on radio. It's not about money. Let me tell you what it's about.
Tell us.
It's about letting them know that we can be very clear with clear intentions, and all we need is for them to facilitate. We don't expect them to help, just facilitate. So Lynette, I wish you all the best with Wednesday's meeting. And I know their motivation is slightly different, but the challenge for you is the same idiot them that was there 6 months ago. It's the same idiot them you're going to have to negotiate and talk to them with. And this goes back to the point that I strongly agree with you, Lynette. It's about us choosing the vernacular, knowing what's going to make an impact. And when we chat to them about money, it always works. When we talk to them about their policy and hold them accountable, it always works. Because they don't think we have any feelings. And that's why they continue to treat us in the way that they do. Because remember, we're 2/5 of a human being. That's how they had it in law, that we didn't have spirit and we had no feelings. And you know what? In the 20th century, it's sad to say 21st, there are many of them who are your managers, who are your bosses, who are the CEOs, who is the postman or the shopkeeper, who still have those kind of mindset. So, Lynette, I wish you all the best with that one.
Thank you so much for that input. We're going to move on to
Can I give my experience quickly?
Wait 1 second. So we're going to move on to Nicole, just because she's been waiting for quite a while. And then we'll move on to you. And then I want Janie to speak, because Janie's also working in that field. So, yeah. So we'll move. Nicole first. Go for it.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicole. So just to introduce this is my sister Narelle as well.
Hi.
Pretty much. Just to introduce myself. So I work in the education system in a secondary school. I'm currently an associate assistant principal. I used to work in a secondary school in Lewisham, so it's really inspiring to hear some of the young people that are part of this conversation today, such as Josh and Danielle, who are being involved in what I think is a really important discussion going forward. One of the key things for me when I reflect on, the struggles and the difficulties I've experienced in getting to where I'm at is my own school experience. And I can relate to many of the points about teachers saying, you won't be able to go to this university, why are you applying here? I was that student. And I was at a failing school myself. And I think part of my motivation to going into secondary schools, and I deliberately go into inner city London schools, is because somebody needs to tell the young people that, yes, you can. And yes, you can be the Prime Minister. And yes, you can be that doctor. But it's just about knowing exactly what it takes to do that. And I think, like Ivy said earlier, we need to think about really specific ways in which we can make a difference.
Yeah.
You know, it's really important that we recognize the journey we've been on, but what steps can we take in order to change that? To change it for the future generation. And so luckily for me, part of my role is about personal development, and it's about working with communities and getting people into schools to inspire and motivate the young people. And again, it's about really networking, and networking is what is happening right now. We're all from different sectors. We can all influence somebody. Even if we have a conversation with one other person, that is something that can be, you know, passed on to a lot of others, and a difference will be made. And just another thing, you know, I'm quite if you speak to any of my students who have ever been taught by me, they will say Miss Briggs had high expectations, you had to give 100%. And the reason why is because simply by being an ethnic minority, simply by being Black, you have to be exemplary. You know, we have to recognize we live in Britain, we live in the United Kingdom, but we also need to be exemplary. And for me, that is one of the things that I think has helped me to reach where I am, and for my students to reach the grades they didn't think was possible, and to get into the career of their choice and not what they have to put up with. So my message today is for everyone to continue to just network, speak to one another, and think about realistic, smart goals. How can we make a difference? How can we make it our reality whilst not forgetting the struggle of the past?
Thank you.
That's what I just wanted to add.
No, that was such an important point, and I think you've kind of moved on to what we're going to speak about. I know that we have. It says discussion Thursday as your name, so I haven't actually got your name. Oh, sorry, it's on mute. Sorry, what did you say?
My name's Callum. Sorry.
Hello, Callum. Yeah, so Callum's going to speak, and then we're actually just going to focus on, for the last 20 minutes to half an hour, tangible solutions. We're all networking now. I want everybody to add under a minute, please, tangible things that we can
yes,
do,
please,
and advice that we can all give that can actually, you know, solution based and on
stuff that we can take away today, and then cut. And if people are interested and want to come back, we can
discuss that further.
Theory and practice.
We're going to go to Callum next.
This might tie into the next one as well.
Okay.
We were talking about Black men, Black boys transitioning into Black men, and what I felt like I needed as a young person transitioning into a man. The Lewisham Council put out a Lewisham Education Report in 2016, which stipulated that boys are more likely to be kicked out of school, have lower attainment, and it really looking at the comparative studies over the past 30 years. Black boys and Black children have pretty much been at the bottom of the barrel in schools in Lewisham for the past 30 years, you know? So what I always looked at, I started reading books about myself when I was about 14, 15, that's when I started. And what I always thought to myself is, like, in one room of 300 people, we've got a collective amount to buy the community building. Do you know what I mean? Like, so for the past 10 years, I've been the director of a leadership program for Black children and young people. For the past 5 years, I've run Discussion Thursday, which is for Black adults. And I think as much as we hold them accountable, which is part of what the march is for, as much as we hold them accountable, there's another element of it where we need to go and dig into our pockets and really commit to the young people and the next generation. You know what I mean? We have to make that commitment, and we have to really support things like what you guys are doing, and support maybe what I'm doing, what other people in here are doing, network like you're saying, and get it done for ourselves. Yes, we pay our taxes, so there is a responsibility on them. But ultimately, what I always wanted as a young person is for the adults to put their hand in their pocket. That's the ones I respected, you know what I mean? I always respected them. And going back to like with the education, currently I work in SEN for the Lewisham Council, so I work with all the schools, and I see it all the time. I could deal with 2 different cases where the young person's got the exact same profile, done the exact same thing, and the Black child will be getting the exclusion over the his white counterpart. And this happens, do you know what I mean? It happens right in front of our eyes. So I just think it's more about us really being advocates for ourselves and sort of supporting one another, you know?
Mm-hmm. That is such a good point, Callum. And I think...
Hi, Callum.
Janie?
Hi, can anyone hear me?
Everyone
I'm
can.
sorry, my internet's been a bit dodgy all night, so I'm a bit in and out.
There you go, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? But Callum, going on from what you say about being advocates for yourselves, I think that as somebody who works in education and as a white person who works in education, I think that the principles of advocacy and inclusion are totally responsibilities of the institution and not the individual. So this is a responsibility that we should take on ourselves as colleges, as schools, as universities, as institutions as a whole, to be inclusive.
Yeah.
This is something we need to be incorporating in our programs. We need to be advocating every single class that we take. We need to be advocates, not of equality, because we shouldn't be saying that everybody is the same, because we're not the same, but we need to be advocating equity. So saying that I'm going to give you the tools that you need to be successful based on who you are and where you come from. So that's not just race, that's like all of the things that encompassing equal rights. Like, this is something that hopefully going forward in the future we can always, we can try and incorporate in education.
I agree.
But it's not being incorporated in education. I find the education system is a very racist institution, and I can understand.
Oh, it's horrendous.
I can understand what you're saying.
At the moment.
What we're dealing with on the front line is a very racist institution that throw our black children, especially the black males, out at a whim. This is what I have to deal with right now, especially within the Lewisham Borough, because, okay, take for instance, in the Southwark Borough, they have closed down a lot of the Peru's, and they now have inclusion units within the schools. I have not so much asked, but demanded that Lewisham follow the same suit, and they have refused.
That's right. Can
I add something quickly?
It's a battle.
Can I quickly add something? And this is my personal belief. I was a school governor for a Peru school in Wandsworth up until last year, and was run by a black head teacher. And a lot of the children are statemented and just have behavioral issues and what have you. And you can see the inequalities there. Let me tell you my personal view. When I was at university some many years ago, Diane Abbott was the minister that was in charge, and one of her flagship projects was the underachievement of young black boys. Now, as part of my dissertation, I did a piece of study looking at the underachievement of young black boys and why that is. Now, out of the 33 pieces of study that I did that spanned over 50 years, reviewing and observing how young black boys did within the educational system, one of the core things that was paramount was that impacted on young black boys was the attitudes and the belief system of the teacher.
Yeah, the inherent racism.
Right, okay, yeah. So you can say it's inherent, but it was the attitude and the belief system and the expectation of the teacher. I remember when my own child went to a school, the teacher told me that my child was average. I went and had my child tested. I spent £350 in doing so. And when my son left that school, he, as well as a young African girl, got the second highest mark out of the whole school. When the teacher gave me the results, he said, oh, well, your son did very well, Miss Jarrett, but that's down to you. And I said to him, how dare you take that achievement from my child? Now, the point that I'm making is the educational system will continue to fail our black men and our black girls, black women, solely because it's an educational system that is not about them. It doesn't see them as people to be respected. And if you're going to continue to educate our children with the same old education, then is it any wonder that 50 years later or 30 years later, Diane Abbott's flagship project, which was to challenge the racist institution, within education has still not been achieved, has not been achieved to date. So that means, are all the teachers racist? Or is it just about an institution? No, it's not. It's about the content of the education that our children are receiving. It doesn't relate to them, it doesn't celebrate them, and it does not respect them. And they will continue to feel marginalized and subhuman at the end of it. Now, those that children like yourself, many of you that's listening right now, that has succeeded, it's because your parents and those that supported you, your primary caregivers, were able to say, you know what, you're going to break out of their perceived norm. And I just feel that it's going to be the same.
Okay, let me jump in quickly. I also have to fight for the white working class boys because their attainment level is even lower than black boys. You see?
And that's where the class element goes
So
into.
yeah, the class element of it, why I say it's institutional racist is because not so much because of our skin color, it's because of the class.
Yeah, class.
They are less interested in what's the word I'm looking for? Educating our black boys than they are with the white boys.
So I think that what we're touching on, because we have to move forward, is definitely class systems. We're touching on racism within the schooling system and how kind of it is set up for the most part for black people to fail, but also people that are not, as again, what Tracy was saying, if it doesn't apply to you, if it's not relatable, how can you learn? It doesn't always give you the best kind of footing. So moving on from that, Janie, do you have any last words to say? Because I know this is something that you're currently doing.
Yeah, I just think that obviously going on from what Tracy's saying about the content reflecting students' lives, this is something that I myself try and include in my class content. I'm an English teacher. I teach English language and I teach English as a second language. I always try and relate the content to the student. So be that British students, people who are of varying ethnicities, cultural backgrounds, or people who are from different countries all over the world, because as an ESOL teacher, I have those students. I have students from Africa, the African continent. I have students from Europe. I have students from Asia, Latin America. And it's just trying to relate that content to the student. And I totally agree that is absolutely a big, very, very important thing. Like, you have to make it relate.
Brilliant.
Can I just add something?
Sorry, can I say?
Who's next? Who's next? So we're gonna move on from it just because we don't have a lot of time. Nikhil, can you add something?
For the second time, we do have to move on.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, because I completely hear all the arguments regarding the curriculum being biased towards white, European, etc. One of the things I will add, though, they have updated the new Ofsted framework to include personal development, and part of that process, there is an expectation now for schools to be more inclusive than they were before. So we will be asked questions, yeah, rightfully so. We will be asked questions, what are you doing to support or to promote into diversity? What are you doing to appreciate the cultures of people in your school? What does it mean to be different here? So school leaders are being challenged now about their provision. I'm not saying it's enough, but there are steps that are being made in order to ensure that no one is left behind. Now, the harsh reality is people are being left behind, but again, as mentioned before, with regards to networking, with regards to, mentorship, showing young people the way. The school is not going to fix the problem. The school is going to be what it is, but there is also another part we can play, whether that is as parents, whether that is as community leaders. We all need to play our part in order to ensure that no one gets left behind. And just the last point, what we're forgetting about is the biggest distraction, which is technology. Whilst technology has its positives, we can network like this, young people need to be taught how and when to use technology, because they are being distracted by social media. They're on it very late. They're not able to concentrate in class. They'll have short fuses and they end up in trouble because they don't know how to communicate face to face. So it's about going back to basics as well as realizing what do you want out of life, and what steps are you taking to get that, and not just feeling entitled. No one should be feeling entitled. We should be putting steps forward to make sure we get what we want out of our lives. That's our decision.
Thank you, Nicole. Right,
That's
so
all right.
before we wrap it, that was a really good way to wrap it up. Before we wrap it up, can we just have a quick fire round of as quickly as possible, under a minute, please, of advice, quick solution, quick bites. One thing could be a commitment that you're going to do after this course, and maybe a way in which you're happy to mentor. And we have 2 young people here that I'm sure are happy to kind of take your numbers or your Instagrams or whatever, if that's something that you commit to. If not, what do you think? What did you get out of this? So I want us to go around and do this, and I want it to be very quick. So can we, not with the young people, we're going to first start with...
Can I go first, Ivy?
Ivan, you can go first, and then Sanchez will go.
Thanks. All right, mine is, for me, simple advocacy, right? So for those, I'll make it quick. Sign up to my website, spiela.co.uk. I'm going to plug it in. We're a social marketplace. All of this in written form, where we have lots of posts, content, article on these kind of topics and discussions with influential people. So even one of my good friends who's a mental health researcher, he's posted lots of really great kind of content on it. If you're looking for those answers, there's videos, there's clips, please check out spiela.co.uk, my company's title, and my company's running this discussion. So yeah, thank you. That's it for me.
Please put it in, Ivan, please put your stuff in the chat.
Sure.
Okay, so next we're going to go with Nicole. If you unmute, please.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Danielle and Joshua, like, oh my gosh, you've actually made me reflect on myself and ask myself, am I doing enough for someone that's in a good position? So 100%, like, I'm going to look into how I can do a lot more mentoring and be involved in a lot more conversations that are happening in schools as well. Something that I did before, which was going into schools and speaking, but I kind of fell off. But I'm 100%, once, Corona's done, I'll definitely get back into that.
Thank you.
Can I go quick? Yeah, it's pretty simple for me, but the thing I'd like to see people doing a lot more is that when you're within the workplace, because of course we've got the young people, but as a minority, the majority in this group is a minority, we all have jobs. And in the workplace, I find that people don't speak up. So if you find yourself in a position in which you feel uncomfortable or something may have occurred, never feel as if you can't speak up. You have to speak up there and then, because what I find is that a lot of the minority, something will happen and we go home and then we speak to someone that may be at home, and then that person could say to us, hold on a minute, so what happened? Did you say anything? Did you do anything? Did you address it? And this could be anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, whether it be racial, gender, anything. If you feel uncomfortable within the workplace, please guys, just address it on the spot, because there's no time to be going home and coming back and not addressing, and it goes back and forth and it becomes a drama. Just address anything that happens within the workplace, especially as a minority. Like, it's happened to me where a woman did say something racial, and it took me maybe about 5 minutes to digest what was going on. And I had to pull her aside and say, you know what, I felt uncomfortable about what you said. And in that moment, it was squashed. Do you know what I mean? But I did put it on record. Like anything, just put it on record. Even if you're logging it within your phone, let things build up so that you've got a good case to put forward if something does get to that point. But notes. I could give you my phone right now and go into my phone, and I've got logs of times I've felt uncomfortable. And if anyone tries to come to me at work, I'll pull it out. Do you know what I mean? So always have something to give yourself, being a minority, the upper hand. Even if it's going to be something that's going to get you to the next level, like, all right, cool, I can use this now to get me a promotion. Secure your back, because at the end of the day, we need to be making our money. Money. It's gonna keep us going. Do you know what I mean? We got bills and it's a pandemic. Guys, just secure the bags, please, because
thank you,
Sam. It goes a long way. All right, sorry, 1 minute. All right. Bye.
Okay, thank you, Lewis. If you could go next.
Yeah. So for me, I haven't kind of thought of much with this one, but it definitely has to be with advocacy. We have to use our experiences and our knowledge to provide opportunities and to support people who are in positions where they aren't able to support and empower themselves. So for example, myself, I work within property, and that means that I have a level of expertise where I know how to navigate the market. I know what opportunities are out there for people. So yeah, I think we need to, as experts and people who know stuff, come together with those who are on the ground. So for example, I know Lynette, obviously she's doing her thing, and with regards to social enterprise, and she's starting something herself with regards to social housing. So, for example, if I can support someone like Lynette, then I should, and I should make. And that also comes back to supporting Black women. If I see something that she's needs support with, I need to push her. I need to give her all the encouragement that she needs to do what she needs to do to excel. So Lynette, if you need anything, just let me know.
Look at that.
But yeah, so I think we should all be doing that, you know. Everyone in this call should be
Working
doing that, and growing, and that's the only way that we have to be intentional with this thing, because the structures that are holding us back were put there for a reason, and we're done so intentionally. So we have to be intentional about how we break this down.
Can you please put your details or any way to
That
get
was
in
dope,
touch
Lewis.
with Lewis
Lovely said.
in the chat, where the chat is on the side? Okay,
Yeah,
move on to the next. Ashley, could you please take the floor?
Yeah, I'm gonna unmute. I think my biggest takeaway is we've had loads of good discussions today, and we've sort of identified some of the problems and some of the issues that we feel we face. And then I think now that you've identified them, I think it's a good mindset to get into, that that's there, you're putting that in a box. Now, what am I gonna do? Or what am I going to do to give myself the best opportunity? So whether that be studying as hard as you can, whether that be sort of accessing any content that you can do online, whether that be doing anything that we can do to like improve our knowledge base and so on. And it can be in any application or anything that you're passionate about. I feel like that's something that's always helped me sort of maintain like a trajectory, because I think when I walk into the room, I always felt more confident if I knew what I'm about to speak about. And if I don't, once I know what I'm speaking about, once I've done the research, once I've done the background work, I think there's nothing that can suppress my confidence when I'm ready to speak. And then I don't feel small for showing any of the qualities or quantities that people somewhat say, oh yeah, you're Black, this is what you're gonna have. So
thank you, Ashley. So in all, like basically using what you have and researching where you can.
Yeah, using what you have, but I think doing whatever you can to get confidence in yourself. If you know your field, nobody can tell you anything about what you've researched. I mean, for instance, Lynette's perfect example. She's going on to, I don't want to steal her thunder or lamb, but she's going on to study her doctorate. Once she carves that niche of information, no one can tell her anything. That's her. That's her
power in education.
That's her power.
With research.
That would give anyone endless confidence to talk about it, because this is what I've studied. You've gained that.
Thank you so much. So yeah, the power of education is there. Right, so let's go on to the next person who's on my screen. I actually can see Callum, but I think he's eating, so I don't want to like put him on the spot.
I'm here. It's cool. I'll keep it brief. The solution is always to develop a knowledge of self that is sufficient to alleviate ourselves with the condition that we are in. Yeah. Now, another one is we need more Black only spaces where we feel comfortable and safe to speak about our experiences and the things that we're going through. And lastly is to know that it's rare you're going to find a one tangible solution through one meeting. It takes years.
It takes time, exactly.
You know, we were designed, you know, people say not to use the N word, but the nigger was designed. It was designed to manifest self-destruction. Do you know what I mean? And that's what we're doing.
Learning of self, knowledge of self, belief in self, and also making more space.
A long time to undo that.
Exactly. And starting conversations from now, and also moving forward, and what you're doing and what we're doing here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's really helpful. Donovan, are you there?
You've muted me, Ivy.
No,
can you hear me now?
Everyone can hear you.
Okay, basically, to cut it short, yeah, I've been taking notes, but self-reflection is key. One thing I didn't get to mention about mental health and stuff like that, yeah, basically, cut a long story short, it's hard enough growing up being Black in the UK as it is. We've got enough burdens. Do you see what I'm saying? So we need to play, it's like snakes and ladders, like Ivan said. We need to play our position. Do you see what I'm saying? We've got to play with the cards that we've been dealt with. And we got to strive to push each other and be there for each other. And not only that, unite together. You get what I'm saying? So we all flourish together, whether it be in our businesses, our family, and as black, like growing up black as well, we need to be accessible to our people. I think it was Ashley that said it. We've got to be there for our people. And not only that, it's made me think, listening to this tonight, I'm glad I came in. I wasn't going to come in, I'll be honest with you. But now that I come in, it shows that we've all got something to give back to the community, do you see what I'm saying? And the younger generation. And me being a father, if we don't do it, the cycle is just going to keep going on. It's a vicious cycle, do you see what I'm saying? So we need to break that cycle. So, yeah.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Thank you. So you, in terms of like knowing of self, again, reaching on to Callum's point as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's a key thing, because how can we be given that advice
when we
and
don't
we
know,
ain't even checked ourselves yet?
Exactly.
Do you see what I'm
we
saying?
don't even have the source of who we are. We don't even know ourselves. I get
exactly.
That.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. Is anybody else? Can you put your hand up instead? I think that'll be easier. Pharaoh was first. Let's go and unmute him. Yeah.
Am I unmute? Oh yeah, we're good. One of the things I want to say, touch on the point that Joshua made, yeah, is that he asked a question about, or he mentioned about us needing to free ourselves from this sort of like mental bondage. One of the things that I want to like put a challenge out to everyone is I want you to challenge yourself to reflect on how you communicate, because a lot of the time the language that we communicate with is key to kind of like showing us our sort of bondage. So when we are saying crabs in a barrel, this, that,
exactly.
blah, 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 blah,
we
blah.
had this conversation, Pharaoh.
Exactly. We mentioned some of it, it was mentioned earlier that people were saying, you know, we need to speak their language and blah, 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 blah. Ashley mentioned something which is key.
Being articulate isn't
being articulate in itself is a skill within itself. It doesn't matter whether you're here, it doesn't matter whether you're Jamaica, it doesn't matter if you're in Spain. Being eloquent is a thing, it's a skill, and as long as we sort of educate ourselves and adapt to that sort of skill, we can adapt to any which environment. Also, challenge ourselves to communicate better in all sort of areas, because a lot of us will say, oh, we don't want to speak their language or blah, blah, blah. But a lot of us have difficulties within our own relationships because we don't know how to speak the other person's love language. So we feel like we're not being loved, and then they feel like they're not being loved. Why? Because we're not speaking the exact same language. So even though we're all speaking English, understand that we're not all communicating in the same way. So you have to adapt that sort of skill. Exactly. So also, lastly as well, the challenge I think that I want to put out to people is, and this is coming from my psychological background, we have to kind of, in order to undo the sort of like mental kind of bondage, we have to familiarize ourselves with ourselves. So I challenge all of us to, instead of don't sit and watch the television subconsciously. Don't let it just be on in the background. Don't sit down and watch these programs and realize that there's thousands and thousands and thousands of white people that you see all the time, because what that is that breeds familiarity. And one of the things that is a main predictor of what we find attractive.
That's called social engineering. What you just said, it's social engineering.
Exactly, spot on. And one of the things that we have trouble with, and one of the things that is the biggest predictor of attraction, is familiarity.
Yeah.
When we are familiar with something, we're more likely to pick it, not necessarily because we want it. And that's the same reason why people can pick. They can pick someone who's going to be an abusive partner to them rather than someone who's not going to be an abusive partner to them. Why? Because they're familiar. It's familiarity, right?
It comes on to what I was saying about when the person was like, good looks like me. It's
exactly.
That kind of
So
where you think you're related to that thing.
And there's a price to pay to watch and be in predominantly white environments, to watch white television, people who are just white on television. There is a price to pay. So don't watch it. Don't just sit down and think, oh no, it's fine, it's on television. No, it's nothing to do with me.
Even the subconscious, raise your level of consciousness.
Raise your level.
Me and Ferrer have these conversations all the time.
All the time. So yeah, boom, that's it.
Because that's all we took. I'm like, Ferrer, like, have you thought about who you are today? Like, So that's like our conversation.
Real talk,
But yeah,
real talk.
like really,
But yeah.
like, I think my input would be raise your level of consciousness. Know that when you are a black person and you come from nothing but absolute greatness, you are amazing. You are beautiful. You are designed in the way, the best, like you're the best. There's nothing above, you are the best. And everything comes from you. You are absolutely everything. And let me tell you something, if you stop, the world stops. If we all decide that we're not going to do this thing no more, it ain't going to be done. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think as soon as you understand your power and you hold that to yourself, and whether you believe in God or a higher power, whatever it is that you choose to assign yourself to, know that through that, you're invincible. So you have that level of confidence where if you're in a hospital and someone's telling you something, you can be like, actually, no, I know myself. And no, you become an advocate for yourself the more that you fall in love with yourself, and the more that you basically denounce everything that they have taught you. They taught you were slaves, you told them that you were queens, told them that you had gold. Whatever they tell you, spin it on its head and tell them who you are. But more importantly, who your people are. So be a constant advocate, because you have no choice. Like, you were born in greatness. You have no choice. And I think it's such a disservice not knowing that. And it takes time. It took me time, because, you know, we all have, like, through media, things telling us that we're not beautiful. You look at other people, there's colorism, there's all these other things that fall into place that try and pull you away from your power. But let me tell you something. All of these things would not be in place if you weren't so great. All of these things wouldn't be standing so firm to block you if you weren't so great. Do you see what I'm saying? So I just feel like, for me, the thing that I'll give to all of you guys is that we are all designed for greatness, and we have so much power. And as soon as we're able to unlock that through means of things that can be outside of ourselves, for me, it's through like higher power, it's through God, it's through other things. But it doesn't have to be for everybody. Everybody has to do whatever they need to do to raise and reach that level of consciousness. But as soon as you reach it, you're unstoppable. And you can see it in our young people. You can see how their mentorship has affected them. Look how they're talking up. Look how they can see 10 years ahead. You see what I'm saying? So I think that if you don't have it for yourself, lean on this network, lean on people, lean on Tracy that's telling you the things, like lean on our people who have gone before us, made it easier for us, public governors, people that have been doing the work and can remind you at all times, yeah, that even when you feel weak, we come from somewhere. Do you know what I mean? So I just think that that is something that I want to instill in us, because I think a thread of what I've heard as well was a lot of, like, sometimes we have self-doubt, sometimes we don't want to speak up, we don't know how to be advocates. There's a lot of that, and that comes from somewhere. So as soon as we can unlock where it comes from, we can move accordingly. Do you know what I'm saying? So
yes, excellent. Ivy, can I just quickly add? That was less than a minute. Right, just quickly. If there's anybody that is interested, I do radio. If you want to be or come on radio, talk to other people about what your project is, what you're doing, make that link. I've put my contact details, Shine Your Light Limited, in the chat. So just hook me up. I do Saturday mornings from 10 till 1. Oh, you've gone mute.
I was going to say thank you so much, and that's going to be so good for our young people as well, who need that information, you know, when they want to. So I'm going to lead it to our young people.
Anybody that wants to hook up, get on radio, talk about your project, you know, I hope you're going to be doing another one of these forums.
We will.
And I would love
It just depends if everybody, I mean, has everybody liked it? We will, of course.
I thought it was excellent.
It was amazing.
Can I just quickly add, is it possible to invite you all on radio? Maybe we could have a conversation like this.
Yeah,
let the elders
I'm game.
hear from you.
I'm game.
Yeah,
I'd like to do that, Tracy. It's just got to be social distancing, yeah?
On Zoom. We could do it on Zoom.
Tracy, you know what I mean?
But I would love the elders to hear the voice of all of you. I have felt so inspired just being part of this forum, and thank you so much. You know, and all I can say really is just continue the fantastic work that you're all doing. And Ivy, all of you, excellent.
Thank you so
very
much.
We're
going to close the floor with the young people talking. Please keep it under a minute, and then Ivan's going to wrap up, and we're going to go. So yeah,
thank you very much.
Joshua first.
Okay. I just wanted to say, all you guys have touched my heart. You showed me why I went for that interview that day. And, you know, the work that I'll be doing, you know, I've just loved the day when I met Ivan. I met Ivan on my first day. And I was speaking to him about what he wanted to do, and he accomplished his goal at Goldsmiths. And I was there, and you know, I've seen Ivan develop his company. I've seen him develop, and I'm so glad I've been a part of this. And you know, I've seen that message, because I'm telling you, when I got the message, I was about to nod off, because you know, Saturday is lockdown, I'm not doing anything. And I saw the message, I said, let me join this meeting, because I knew I'd be touched, and I've been touched by all of you. And this is everything that you've said, I've written it down, and I'll be taking it away. And when I get into Lucian Council, I'm rolling through, and I say, listen, this is what the Spiela family have said, and we want it now.
That's it.
Because this is a family, and we all have to unite, and we will. You know, I put out my contact details. Contact me, any suggestions you have. Contact me. I'm always open to ideas. You know, I just love all you guys. Thank you for your amazing comments. Thank you for the speeches.
That's it, Joshua.
We love to hear it.
We love it. You're the future. We're telling you. Let me tell you something. You've got a gift. And don't let them people tell you nothing about how you're this and you're that and you're this and you're that, because you're articulate and because you're powerful and you know who you are. You're someone that can advocate for themselves at such a young age. And I wish that I knew how to advocate for myself when I was that young.
Also, yeah.
You sound like a young MP, mate. Josh, I tell you all the time.
Also, let me quickly butt in there. Joshua, quick one, yeah? Quick one. I think it is absolutely imperative that you hold on to the gift that you have, because you can lose it. Yeah, I've been to school, I've been the highest performer, and I've left school, do you know what I mean, with not being the highest performer. A lot of us, are very smart, advanced. We go into nursery and these things, very advanced, and we leave nowhere near the top. Yeah, we go into universities, advanced, and we leave not knowing what to do. So please, I'm telling you, do what you can, hold on to that, because you can lose it. Yeah, it's
been given to me by God, and I'm holding on to it.
You will make it. You will make it.
Work has been given to me, and I'm not losing it. I'm not losing it.
Networking, definitely.
It's
I
just
love
for
it.
God.
So, man, that was well said.
Danielle next.
Hello.
Hi, Danielle.
Hi. It was nice hearing what everyone had to say today. I learned a lot of new things today. And I just wanted to add as well to when we were talking about education, like the education system is like, we live in a capitalist system in UK. So in school, they just teach us to actually become workers, not actually like build our own stuff and become like our own bosses. So, and we don't actually learn things that we don't actually learn like practical things we'll need outside of the workplace. So little things we can do with the resources we have, like literally just like there's places around Lewisham or in your borough where you can hire out, or even because if you're doing it for the community, you can get it for free. Just like organize a little meeting teaching young people about financial literacy, because like I started a social enterprise called the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, which organizes events to educate young people about entrepreneurship and to connect them with role models, especially Black role models in that entrepreneurs, so they can see people that look like them doing something that they want to do. So something little you can do, like get maybe a room in the civic suite or something, and then maybe host something on a key skill you have. Financial literacy, which I've learned recently, is really, really important.
That's
learning
amazing
about assets, liabilities, learning about taxes as well, learning about things like finding yourself, like knowing yourself, and other skills like how to and also how to manage your money, and not just spend your money on things like useless stuff, like how to invest your money as well. So because I think in our community as well, there's something we don't talk about. We don't know how to use our money properly at a young age, and then when we're older, we're suffering.
I'm planning. That's what I'm planning. Oh, you're right.
And also,
sorry.
And also,
can I say something? To what Danielle, just to build on what Danielle said, you just hit the nail on the head. Exactly what is missing is what is now starting to happen, and it just needs to be rolled out. And I wanted to ask if you or Josh, what year you're in. If you're in year 12, you may have heard of this already, but there's a project called Amos Bursary, and they help young Black people with professional mentoring to access those Russell Group top universities and give career guidance. So if you want to know more information, I'll put it in the message.
So Nicole will add that, Danielle. And just to add as well, shameless plug, I'm going to be starting my podcast where I'm going to be speaking to people who teach on financial literacy. I'm going to be speaking to loads of different people just like this, but it's going to be more in depth. So on the podcast, I'll invite somebody who's a specialist in financial literacy. I'll have Ashley on, who's someone who's taught himself how to invest in stocks, and I will definitely share it with the young people. And it'll be great to have you and Joshua on as well, because you know you're so bright and it's so good. Quickly, I want Lynette to basically tell you guys where also you can go for further mentorship. So quickly, Lynette.
Hello.
Hi, love.
Hi. So for me, I wanted to kind of speak about Elimu once again, more so for like the older people, because a few people said that they want to kind of action some of the points that we've made today. The reason why I started it is because I realized that I know a lot of dope people. Like, there's not one person in this chat who hasn't inspired me today, whether it's because of your profession or whether it's because of the things that you've overcome, because I know a lot of us personally. So I know that just to be here today, like, we've moved mountains to be here today and to be speaking on the things that we're speaking on. And I think that in itself is inspiring. So I know that sometimes in the past when I've reached out to people, they've said that they don't feel like they've done enough, like they don't feel like they've kind of peaked yet, or they haven't secured the bag, so they don't think they have anything to give back. And today has proven that regardless of what you're doing at the moment, like, everyone in here has a story to tell and everyone in here can inspire. And the young people have said it themselves, like, they want to hear from people that look like them.
Yeah.
Like, so it's also a point of like giving them the platform to say what they want. It's important that they're in these conversations, and I think that's sometimes things that we forget, whether we're talking about giving back to kind of Africa, you know, that the conversations that they always have, or giving back to the youth. A lot of the times the youth aren't at that table when we're having those discussions. So just the fact that they're here today is so important. So if you feel like you can help in any capacity, whether it's guest speaking, mentoring, or just championing them, such as kind of spreading the word, like even Danielle and Josh, like just talking about what they want and what they said today, all of it has an impact. So yeah, definitely do follow Elimu International, that's ELIMU International, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Insta, like we're on all the socials. And yeah, there's definitely a way that we can all support them and we can all inspire them and lift them up in some way. And again, Danielle and Josh, you lot have inspired. I wish I was you guys. I wish I had you guys as my peers when I was in school. You guys are amazing. So
well, you know, they have the public governor as their mentor. You know, she's just listening.
Even the public governor, like, you should be proud. Like,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying, and it comes from that type of mentorship. That's what I'm saying. Like, for you to be able to have those mentors in your life. Look
also, Ivy and Ivan, sorry, the twins. Big up for you guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly, guys. Big up Ivy and Ivan.
Thank you so much, guys. Okay, this is the final one. Louisa's been quiet this whole time, and she needs to say one thing. So let's let her speak, and then Ivan will wrap up.
Yeah.
Guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Right, hi. I'm actually Louisa's sister. I'm 15, and I'm in year 10. And I feel like something that would really help me as a youth is something about mental health, because what you find in the Black community, especially for kids, is that people are really insecure, and that's what happens, like with colorism and stuff.
Yeah.
You're insecure about yourself, so you want to inflict that on other people. So what happens is girls will go to school and they're not thinking about work, they're thinking about, oh my gosh, my hair. This person asked me and say this about my hair, X, Z. And I'm a wellbeing champion in my school, and so we focus on mental health, but we barely talk about it in the Black community. And
yeah. Oh, Louisa, I think that is such a good point. One thing that we can say is that a lot of it can, in terms of challenging those insecurities and colorism, those other things, again, it does link back to mentorship as well. If you have somebody in your life telling you, that everything is rubbish, it is rubbish, I think that also helps as well. So I think that kind of comes into who are your mentors, who are the people that are helping you. And social media is not helping it either, because social media is feeding all of this stuff. Yes?
Can I just quickly say, I do mental health awareness training for young people. I'll put some details on there. But just to quickly add, we all have mental health, whether it's poor or good. So I'll put some details on there. There's a free course. Pharaoh's done it, and it's a free course. It's also accredited, and you get a certificate. And if you really enjoy the course and you do the adult and the youth, you can also train up to be a trainer. I freelance for the NHS. I used to do it full time. I now freelance for the NHS as well as other independent organisation. But there's free mental health first aid. If enough of you on this forum wanted it, I could set it up.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes, please. So I will let Ivy.
Yes.
Ivy,
I'll touch
put
base
the
with you again.
details.
Yes,
touch
please, on the
base
chat.
with me.
Yep.
And it will be free. But normally to attend, it's anything from £300 to £600. And if you want to know details about it, it's 2 days full time Arts Pharaoh. But it's an excellent international renowned course.
And we can look at like.
Can you leave your email address, please?
Thank you. I've already put Shine Your Light email address on the forum, on the
So
network.
just check the chat. Yeah, just check the chat.
Yeah, but Ivy,
yes.
I will communicate with Ivy.
Yeah.
And Ivy or whoever's, I think you're facilitating. You can send it out.
I'll send it out.
I put my contact number and email. But I totally agree. There is more issues that need to be done.
Thank you so much. Okay, Donovan.
Yes, I was just wanted to say one thing, regarding that, the girl regarding mental health, about mental health. You guys, everybody in this chat, just like she said, everybody faces mental health. Do you see what I'm saying? But don't be ashamed, because we're taught to grow up, like Pharaoh said, about just going through life, trying to hold things together. Do you see what I'm saying? So mental health wise, everybody needs to chat to their people around them, whether it be their family or anybody.
Amen.
At the end of the day, everybody's suffering from different things individually, but which affects them differently. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we need to be there for each other. Like, it's okay to reach out to people. Do you see what I'm saying? Without being judged or anything. Especially as men, we think about pride. It's okay to, you know what I'm saying? We're men cry. Do you see what I'm saying? It's all real, but yeah, just don't feel like
we'll have
to
a
reach
separate
out.
call on that too. I think it will be good for Tracy to be a facilitator in the mental health course, so we'll set that up soon. Can you wrap up, please?
Yeah. So again, I'd like to thank every single person here for coming out and joining the forum. Of course, Spiela is the company. Spiela is what it's housed under. It's actually a very good treat having a sister who's this passionate and who has the ability to speak and enunciate herself in such a way. And it's a privilege to kind of have my sister on board working with me on this. She's been excellent. So thank you for that, Ivy. And, for more information, and based on kind of the feedback and what everyone's thinking and saying, me and Ivy, we're going to take everybody all of this and then
look how we're going to organise the next one.
And look how we can organise the next one. But again, in order to find that out, you've got to be following Spiela.co.uk, you've got to be signed up.
Registered to Spiela.
Registered to Spiela, please. That's the only place and the only area you're going to find out more information about all this. And this will be typed up and put on the platform. And so, again, I'd like to thank everybody.
Hey, 1 second, Ivan, before we go, because tech is really close to my heart, we have somebody in here called Layla. Layla, can you quickly just state your agency and also tell people how they can reach you? For anyone that's interested in tech, we've got young people, it's really important. Tech is very important to me. So, Layla?
Hey, my name's Layla and I'm in tech. So this really inspired me. And like growing up, I went to a really bad school. And like honestly it was a really bad school, so even seeing that I was able to go through that and grow and do what I'm doing now, and seeing all of my peers that have done well and some that haven't, and just hearing all the issues that are here, I'd really love to like mentor anyone that's interested in tech, or just give you advice in terms of like career, like uni, sixth form, and just going through that. Definitely email me, because I would definitely like to advise you on that.
Layla, thank you so much. She's a young person as well, and she comes from a lot of the way, Lewisham, so the schools that we've been through. She's doing very, very well. She's my younger cousin. She's doing she's in tech, and that is something that I'm pushing for young Black people. I work in tech. There's a lot of money to be made in tech. It's an industry that isn't necessarily pushing for us to be in there. They're not doing a lot of work there. We need to get into tech. Let me tell you something, the money that these people are making, we need to get more young people into tech, more young Black, Asian, minority ethnics into tech. Very close to my heart. So please, please, please reach out to Layla. If you're not interested, reach out to get other people who may be interested.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reach out.
And
Ivan?
and yeah, so to finish off, yeah, thank you everybody. Please follow, register to spiela.co.uk. Check out Instagram, all of our information. We'll have pictures, clips, and snippets that we chopped up and placed on the socials as well. Again, I'm going to keep plugging it. Please follow and join Spiela, the community, as Josh kindly eloquently put out for us earlier. I'd like to thank everybody. Have a great night. Please please quarantine safely as well. Please look after your mental health, and please look after one another. Please take this time to kind of take away stuff, digest it, learn it, see if you can connect and collaborate with anybody here. That's what we're all about. And if you have any questions at all about wanting to become a part of the community or help out and do more things within Spiela or kind of what we're putting together, just drop us a DM, drop a message. You know what I mean? I think too far to reach. And yeah, I'd like to thank everybody and hope you all have a good night.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you,
Good night, guys.
everyone.
Next time.
Bye.
Stay safe.